Okay, looks like we're live back on Kevin's channel again, and they're going to be Kevin and Daniel are going to be doing a debate about I believe it's about the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So, like intervention in the Middle East, I guess generally, and about the Bush administration, I believe. So, kind of a broad subject area there. And I think they wanted to start off with Daniel questioning Kevin for 5 minutes or so, just to gauge kind of to understand where he's coming from, I suppose, so it can inform where the debate can go. And I don't know what else to say. I guess you could. There's always the general thing of Kevin's debates is he's open to having them. He'll let anyone who participates mirror it, and they're that's it. So I guess go ahead, guys.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I admire people who are willing to debate, first of all. So I came across you with your Chad Cheney tweet, which was I've been trying to find actual fans of George W. Bush for years, and I was elated to actually find one. It seems, but let me just ask. So, would you have supported the 2013 Gang of Eight immigration bill?
Altogether, I think generally speaking, I'm more for border restriction and whatnot, and more for what I say limited and manageable immigration. But altogether, immigration in general, not my biggest area. So I don't actually know the specifics of the Gang of Eight bill. So if you could go over the specifics of it, I can give you my general stance on it.
Oh, okay. So basically it was just amnesty for all the illegal immigrants here, and then the funny thing was the Republicans, their thing that was supposed to be for them, quote unquote, was doubling legal immigration.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm just looking through the terms of it right now. I see some names on there and the members that I like a lot. We got Graham, we got McCain, got Rubio. I don't actually like that bill. I'll just be clear on that. I don't like that. So, I think if you don't have, I guess I know.
Oh yeah, it did have money for the border. Yeah, excuse me. It did have money for the border patrol. So
right,
I forgot.
Yeah. I'll be clear about this. I think that amnesty for illegal immigration is basically saying, our laws don't really matter, that kind of stuff. I don't like that in general.
Okay.
I think that movement in general to push for more open borders, more lax borders and whatnot is generally motivated by corporate interests that don't actually have the best interest of new immigrants at heart either. They just want to pay people lower wages and whatnot. So
okay, well, that's surprisingly Trumpian from someone who seems to dislike Trump. Okay, good. So that's clarifying. So I guess this was the crux of what I want to ask you about. Okay. You think Bush Cheney, great presidency? Yes, no?
The best U.S. presidency since the Reagan administration.
Oh, well, actually hasn't been. That would have been Clinton Bush. But you think in the pantheon of American presidents, Bush Cheney is one of the best?
Well, no, when I say, I want to be clear here, I don't mean from Reagan to them. I mean in total. So there hasn't been a better presidency since Reagan left the White House besides the Bush administration from 2001 to 2009. Obama was a joke. Trump was a joke. Clinton was a mixed bag, and then H.W. Bush was just a defensive realist that didn't have any sort of balls, basically. So,
okay, would you say Bush Cheney is one of the best administrations in American history?
In modern U.S. history, I don't actually know the details of every presidency before 1900 and whatnot. Sure. But I would put them in the same. I know this might be a bit of a hot take. I would put them in the same category as people like Ronald Reagan, Harry Truman, and Abraham Lincoln. So, yeah.
Okay, so you got two wars, trillions of dollars, financial crisis that some people have still not recovered from. You have the most illegal immigration in American history, and the guy pushes for amnesty, and his policies lead to a housing collapse. You think that's one of the best ever?
Well, let's be clear here about something. Bush did more for border security than Donald Trump did. He was actually able to secure more fencing. Now, it's not enough, but he's actually able to do more than Trump because he didn't make it a completely toxic political issue that nobody from the other aisle could sign on to. It was just a normal thing with him. Whereas when Trump came in, he had very bad optics about it, and he wasn't able to get very much through. Where's the wall? Like, where's the wall, man? Like, you're
by the way, I have lots of problems with Trump, but if you actually look at the numbers, the explosion of illegal immigration during the Bush administration, was so much larger than it was during the Trump administration. Not even close. Every time Bush said, people would say, build security, he'd say, well, you got to pass my amnesty too. I mean, would you have supported Bush's amnesty in 2007, the Kennedy bill?
Again, on the micro issue of it, no, but on the whole, his administration was based. Like, immigration isn't that big of an issue for me.
Okay. And his China policy was based too?
Well, his China policy, let's be clear, was simply more or less a continuation. Same with the financial crisis, just a continuation of the stuff that Bill Clinton largely put in motion, which was this very sort of neoliberal. No, it was bad. It was bad. But again, he had other issues to deal with. Bill Clinton doesn't get the same pass. Obama doesn't get the same pass because they didn't really do that much. Whereas Bush was busy with Iraq and Afghanistan. Obama doesn't get that excuse.
Okay. So let me just, because I'm not trying to do the debate. I just want, so that Bush speech, I think was the 2004 inaugural, where he said did that whole evangelical neocon thing, where he said every human heart yearns for freedom. And we just gotta, he said, it was basically, we got to just bring, liberal democracy to Afghanistan and Iraq and this whole, okay. So you agree with that?
100%. You don't? You think that democracy only matters?
No. You think our foreign policy should be this evangelical type, bringing feminism and, Dutch style democracy to Afghanistan?
Wait, hold on a second. I don't know if you know your terms. Okay, so you got to question me, and I'll actually let you continue more questions because you get your full 5 minutes.
Sure.
However, we got to. I had no interest in questioning you on anything because I get challenged all the time. I got to question you now. I just want to make sure that you know your terms because you want to understand where I'm coming from. I just want to understand if you even know politics. So you said evangelical feminist foreign policy. I just want to be clear about something. Most evangelicals in general actually are opposed to feminism. Let's just be clear about that. So
that's not what I meant.
It kind of sounded like what you meant.
Okay. The vision of Bush, where he felt this is God's mission. I'm going to bring Western-style democracy, which includes women's rights, yes, to Afghanistan, to Iraq, and we're going to use the U.S. military to spread our ideas of Western-style democracy. That's what I meant. But you agree with that?
Well, that's a bit of revisionist history, actually. A large motivation for the Bush administration to conduct their foreign policy vis-a-vis Afghanistan and Iraq was specifically motivated by 9/11. One of the things that a lot of people forget about George W. Bush is that in the run-up to him becoming president, and even for the first few months of his presidency, he actually was more of an isolationist. Now, he wasn't isolationist, but he definitely wasn't that hawkish. And it was the events that happened September 11, 2001 that actually shaped his view and awoke him to the fact that you can't, even if you want to pretend the rest of the world doesn't matter, the rest of the world won't forget that America exists and they'll still come knocking at the door. And he realized then that, that was a really pivotal experience for him. And after that, of course, he directed the United States military along with coalition forces, including Canada, the United Kingdom, etc., at targets specifically in Afghanistan. And then later on in 2003, it was motivated by primarily, it was a twofold factor. It was motivated in part and a lot of the marketing of it was the weapons of mass destruction threat that the Hussein regime posed, the threat that they posed in general to the region, as well as neocons within his administration. Because George W. Bush himself wasn't a neocon, but he had a lot of neoconservatives advising him, and they were people that were partial to the neoconservative persuasion in terms of foreign policy work. They went into Iraq with a twofold mission: to remove the threat that was there, as well as to spread democracy. Now, that, to the extent that it was motivated by religious convictions, is mostly overplayed by people like Bill Maher and the late night comedy host circuits, quote unquote comedy. They're not really that funny, but those guys promoted that meme. Now, Bush at one point had spoken a bit about his convictions in terms of doing what he was going to do, but for the most part, both of those wars weren't motivated by some sort of missionary Christian agenda. They were actually motivated primarily by combating terrorism in the wake of 9/11.
Yeah, I did not mean I don't believe he wanted to like turn Iraq Christian. I believe he's a bleeding heart, evangelical. It's all about, I'm gonna adopt some kids from Haiti. That's sort of Christianity. That's what drove him. Not like, I'm gonna, kill Muslims and convert Iraq to Christianity. That's not what I meant. Let me ask you this: on China, whose approach do you think you like better, Bush or Trump?
Specifically on China, I would say Trump, but he didn't go far enough.
Okay.
But again, Bush had his hands tied. You can't go to war with the world, right? So.
Okay. Immigration, Bush or Trump?
in practice, Bush. In rhetoric, Trump. So, because Bush did more, but Trump had better rhetoric. But he, of course, he wasn't as politically savvy at getting anything done. So. Okay.
Well, so what I've concluded is you're going to be a little bit more difficult to pin down. So that's all I wanted to do, because I didn't want to. Well,
I have a question for you now, though, because you mentioned.
Okay, sure, go.
Again, I just want to get back to this whole evangelical thing and everything. You tied in feminism with evangelicalism. I thought that was a bit funny, because most evangelicals, if you were to ask them, because of course we have to keep in mind, and you said you were interested in debating somebody that supported Bush. The thing is, even at the low point of his approval rating, he still did have a quarter of America that supported him. So there are a lot of Bush supporters out there. It's just I'm one of the only ones on YouTube these days, I guess. But what a lot of those who supported Bush, that supported him before the wars and supported him as the wars were going on, a lot of them were definitely evangelical. That's true. And the Republican Party under Trump, let's keep in mind, Trump did a great deal to court evangelicals, right? I mean, he even said, like, he loves evangelicals and everything. So I'm not 100% sure on, like, that line of criticism against Bush. Like, yes, he was a born-again Christian, but
no, I'm
Trump
not,
wanted to be, so.
I'm not attacking him because he was a Christian. That's
okay.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
It was just a little bit confusing to me, because it's like,
I guess just for everyone, in the audience, so it's all kind of clear. I think everyone kind of knows Kevin's a neoconservative and all of that. So, like, generally, where would you be coming from, Daniel? Are you like a more populist kind of right-wing person, like a paleocon or something like that?
Well. God, I don't want to sound too pretentious. I dislike the question in a sense that I'd probably agree with Ezra Klein. So what?
I was going to say, just like generally, well, you're a Trump supporter,
no,
at least,
I would say, I have a lot of problems with Trump, but I did admire, I have always despised the Bush-Cheney GOP. And I supported Kerry in 2004. And
because I was thinking you were more from the right-wing side of things, but you voted
No. I'm sort of all over the place, but okay. I'm probably more with the right on cultural issues, and more with the Democrats on taxes and economic policy. Yeah. So whatever that is.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got you. So you're more I guess, economically more liberal or progressive. I don't know, whatever term, left wing economically more, and then like socially more conservative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about you, Henry? I'm just curious.
I'm a mixed bag too, man. Kind of independent. Sort of center left is if I take a political compass test, that's where I'm gonna fall. But I'm kind of the same way. I have some socially conservative views, some socially progressive views. I'm a really mixed bag, so it's
just to make this more entertaining. What I really disagree with Kevin on is I'm interested in sort of shaping things. Of course, I'm not. I don't have huge influence. The thing with the Democratic Party is it's hard to shape it in a way. But the Republican Party, you can actually, it could sort of go in any direction right now.
Yeah.
And I hated the Bush-Cheney GOP. And I have lots of problems with Donald Trump. I mean, we'd probably agree on lots of that. But I really did like him. What?
What are some of your problems with Trump, just so we can kind of understand?
Well, I think you alluded to it before. The guy, let me just say this. If he had been, this is why all these people being devastated that he wasn't reelected. I was like, what are you talking about? He would have just wasted another 4 years tweeting. Basically, at the end of the day, the guy he was not interested in policy. He was not interested in actually using the mechanisms of power, like big tech. For me, that was like the guy just tweets about it for 4 years. And I'm just like, shut the, I'm honestly have a lot of anger towards this guy. Like, just tweet. We don't need that anymore. So I think we both agree on that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very critical of big tech. I tweet out often. I'll be like, resist big tech and whatnot, because like I'm well aware once they're done getting rid of everybody they see as far right, they're coming for neocons and hawks left next, because they're going to say, oh, you want to nuke North Korea? That's hate speech, all this kind of stuff, So
yeah. Well,
and of course they have no problem with communists. Like, I mean, you look at they'll get rid of people like Nick Fuentes that I despise. But then they'll keep Vosh on, and Vosh said to literally nuke Tel Aviv, so he wants to literally kill millions of Jews, and yet they'll keep him on.
Don't get me started on YouTube. I mean, but let me just say this on YouTube. I've never seen a technology just make itself worse on purpose over a 2-year period than YouTube. It just the recommendation algorithms. Like I remember the Christchurch shooting happened and they made all these changes, and my feed it just transformed. It was like music, corporate, like Metallica videos. They're just they really just want to get rid of anybody who's sort of edgy, it seems. But where we really disagree is I saw this video. It was the day after the Liz Cheney vote, and you were saying Chad Cheney, the Chad Cheney meme, you're saying this is amazing. These brainlets they've been roasted, and now this is great. Cheney's gonna be the next Speaker of the House. And,
True.
And so that's where we definitely disagree.
So your problem with the Cheney legacy is specifically immigration, because that was never a big focus.
The entire thing, as it's been called, invade the world, invite the world. We're gonna have our boys and girls getting their legs blown off for Afghan feminism while Bush demands an amnesty. I mean,
wait. So do you think? That? I gotta ask you, how do you feel about Sharia law? Are you a supporter of it?
I don't live in Afghanistan. I'm not.
Okay, you could have been born in Afghanistan. Why do people in Afghanistan not matter? Like, are you a relativist? Are you a nihilist? What's the deal? Are you Christian? What's the deal?
Oh wow. Wait. So what your question is? Do people in Afghanistan matter?
Well, I'm just wondering where you're coming from. Like, are you a nihilist? Like, if you were a nihilist,
I'm not a nihilist. No.
So
well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because the military is having a hard time recruiting these days. So let me just ask you, Kevin.
Oh, here in before the meme. When
Let me just ask you,
dude. I've done 2
will you
videos.
sign up, go to Afghanistan, get your legs blown off for Afghan feminism? Will you do it?
So I've done 2 videos. So I've done 2 videos on this, and I'll tell you this: there's nothing that me enlisting as a private or becoming an officer in the Royal Canadian Armed Forces would do to get Trudeau to go and liberate Afghanistan. It wouldn't make a difference. So.
Well, you're Canadian, so that's a good. Oh, then I'll ask it this way, because you're a big neocon, you love this war in Afghanistan, and you want us to stay the course, right? 20 plus years in, right? Wait a sec. We walk into Walter Reed, a 21-year-old American guy from Tennessee's just got his legs blown off in Kabul, fighting for Afghan women's rights, right? We have to fight for women's rights. Wait a second. What would you tell him?
Who did 9/11 come from?
Wait a second.
Were they out of West Virginia?
Kevin, I asked first. What would you tell an American soldier who just had his legs blown off to fight for Afghan feminism? What would you tell him?
So are you aware what happened September 11, 2001? Do you even understand why the West was in Afghanistan in the first place? Like this historical revisionism, you basically make it out that, the only reason why the United States and Canada and everybody went into Afghanistan was to spread evangelical feminism, which is one of the most hilarious memes I think we've ever had. I didn't say that.
So you're not going to answer my question?
No.
Tell the soldier.
So you're ignoring that 9/11
his legs for Afghan feminism.
So let me ask you this: what would you say, Daniel, to a U.S. soldier that had their legs blown off in World War II? Fighting the Japanese Empire? What would you say then? Because you're basically implying, well, people got injured, people died, so therefore retaliating against an attack isn't justified. You don't think that retaliating against those that did 9/11 was justified? So is any war ever justified? So can Japan just go and nuke LA, for example, and that's fine? Let's not do anything about it because people could get injured. Is that really your worldview? Like, let's say right now, ISIS does an attack and they kill 400 Americans in, say, Texas. You don't think that the U.S. should respond? You don't think that the U.S. should retaliate for that? You don't believe in sovereignty? Is that it?
So
do you think the U.S. is a sovereign country? Do you think the U.S. is a sovereign country? Because a sovereign country has the right to defend itself.
I asked you a question, very specific question about Afghanistan. You respond by saying, what? Do you think we should have fought the Nazis in Japan? It's like, why don't you answer my question?
Well, I think the issue here is it seems like you guys are having a misunderstanding where it's like, I think Kevin's comparing it to that because it sounds like, Daniel, you're saying that we went into Afghanistan to spread women's rights or something. And Kevin's trying to say that we went over there because of 9/11. Like, it wasn't really like, oh, women are oppressed in Afghanistan, so we need to go invade. So it seems to be like you guys are coming at it from two different points of view. So you understand that?
Sure, maybe that was true in 2002. What year is it now, Kevin?
The war's still going
2021.
Yeah, but I could do the same thing.
Later.
I could say Hitler invaded. Hitler invaded.
So you're not going to answer my question.
Hitler invaded Poland in 1939, bro, and it's 1941 now.
Are we going to talk about World War II or Afghanistan?
It's been 2 years, dude. It's been too long. Hitler invaded in 1939. Now it's 1941. What do you mean the war's still going on? Yeah, dude, wars take time. Wars take time.
So are we going to talk about
after the Taliban attacks America again? Would you rather keep yo-yo politicking it, where you go in and then you get tired, so you pull out, but you haven't dealt with the threat, and now the threat comes back and attacks you again. Now you got another 9/11. Now everybody wants to go back. Why not just finish the job?
Okay. We need to introduce some structure here. So let me just propose this. Why don't we we'll both ask each other 2 questions, and we'll actually, in good faith, answer the questions. So I'll ask you a question, and then You'll answer the actual. You won't respond by asking me a question. You'll actually respond.
But you understand that your
and then you'll ask me a question, and I will actually respond. Okay, can we do that?
But you understand that your question was totally loaded with this idea that the U.S. didn't go into Afghanistan because of literal 9/11, which was the actual reason, and rather to spread evangelical feminism. Dude,
I didn't. Okay, evangelical feminism.
Well, that's what you said.
I didn't say that. I didn't say evangelical feminism. I said Bush's. I said Bush's evangelical ethos. This is the first time you use ethos. Wait a second. Do you know that people can be called Bitcoin evangelicals? Do you understand that use of the term? Do you? So do you know what a technology evangelist is? The word can be used in different meanings. Do you understand that?
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference between an evangelist, as we see as a proselytizer in general, and an evangelical, and especially in the context of what you were using it. It sounded like you were referring to his Christian.
No, I wasn't. I told you that.
Okay, but that's what it sounded like. So
okay.
So just for the record now.
All right, fine. But can we do the question thing? Is that okay? But we'll actually answer the questions.
Fine, but we'll have Henry actually organize it because he's the moderator.
Okay. But if you ask me a question, I promise you I will not answer by saying, well, in response, let me ask you this. I won't do that. Will you not do that too?
Well, what if I asked you an equivalent sort of phrasing of, well, do you think that basically that it was wrong to invade Germany? It's like, well, no, Germany invaded the United States. Germany declared war. It's likewise with Afghanistan. It's like the Taliban did the war. It's like the question isn't, oh, do you go in and invade? It's like, no, they started it. So we need to have these questions phrased in a way that's not divorced from reality and history. So.
Okay, well, I see what you're saying. So let me just refer to Mitch McConnell's speech on the Senate floor a few months ago, where he denounced there was some articles that Trump was going to pull all the troops out of Afghanistan. McConnell went to the Senate floor and he said, we cannot leave Afghanistan because it would endanger the extraordinary gains in women's rights in Afghanistan.
Well, that's
I could cite many other Republicans and Democrats saying
Daniel, is he wrong? Would you deny that women's rights are better now than under the fucking Taliban?
But you wanted to ask what was the basis of my question. I'm telling you that people do make that argument. So anyways, Henry, do you think it's fair to do this question thing?
Oh yeah, I mean it's an open exchange. So for me, like you guys could just ask each other.
Okay.
It should just be a normal conversation. I would think that's usually the best way. Because the whole question and answer thing, it's sometimes you can ask a bad question or like when you were asking that question, I think where you guys kind of got derailed was you were asking Kevin a question that inferred a premise that he didn't agree with. So when you were asking him, what would he say to a dead soldier or a injured soldier who fought in Afghanistan for women's rights? Like Kevin's thing was that wasn't the reason they were there. So the question kind of inferred something he didn't agree with.
It's like me asking you, Daniel, when did you stop being your wife? Like
it's not exactly like that. Okay. I don't think it was malicious. I just think that you guys didn't get to the core of your disagreement, which is maybe something good for you guys to talk about is why do you think maybe discuss why we were in Afghanistan? Like, do you agree with Kevin that it was because of 9/11 or it was you think that we remained in 9/11 like post I don't know 2005, 6, whatever because of the wrong reasons or something like that?
Well, certainly
I mean, I'm assuming you believe that 9/11 was the
certainly that's why we went into Afghanistan. Obviously.
Okay, let's just be clear.
Now we're 20 years later, where trillions of dollars have been spent, and the people who demand that we keep spending $50 billion a year on this country keep saying we got to do it for women's rights and for feminism in Afghanistan. We can't leave because that would hurt Afghan feminism. And I honestly, that's outrageous. But
wait,
so
you don't think that women's rights have improved in Afghanistan compared to the Taliban? You don't.
yeah, they have.
Okay, so
Now,
then
are we obligated to stay there for 20 more years? Because if we left, maybe it would get worse.
Well, no, I want to end the endless wars by winning them. I don't want to do this whole thing where we cut back troops after 5 years like Obama did or whatever. I want to just get it over with.
Okay, can I ask you?
Surge.
Okay.
You disagree that the troop surge worked in Iraq, for example.
Okay. So let's because I don't want to caricature your Afghan views. So may I ask a few short questions to understand your view of it?
Sure. Let's
okay.
do it.
So you think we could, all right, let me just ask this. You think we could, quote unquote, win the war in Afghanistan?
It could have been done by now if somebody like me had been in charge. I'll tell you that. It wouldn't have taken 20 years. So,
all right, tell me what's the strategy?
Okay, so back when the invasion got underway in 2001, the Taliban controlled the vast majority of Afghanistan. They reached a point after fighting in which the Taliban controlled less than 13% of the country relatively recently. That looks like a trend towards victory. However, the problem is Canada eventually left. The United States has withdrawn so much of a presence there that it's almost a meme now what's left there, that it basically enabled the Taliban to regain ground. And now, after having the teeth pulled out of the tiger that was there, now people say, oh, well, we've been there too long. It's like, yeah, but how long has the U.S. and the West actually been there with a full fighting force? A few years of that time. And obviously it takes longer than that. World War II took like 6 years, remember, So the wars take time. And then, of course, you have a nation building process afterwards. But as far as actually getting it done and over with, there should have been a very obviously immense force that goes in there initially. And there was, by and large, a pretty high troop commitment by the coalition forces there. And then you maintain that presence and stamp down the insurgency, and you essentially wage a total campaign of de-Talibanization in the population. And you couple that with promoting your own culture, your own sort of values, education, all this other kind of stuff to ward off the Taliban's extremism. And in the regions that the Taliban still has a presence in, you continue that large, heavy-handed approach, basically. And at that point, you basically seek to wipe out all remaining Taliban and get rid of their territorial hold over the country. And then you stamp down any sort of residual insurgency. And then you still maintain a pretty big presence, but you use that presence to maintain security. Well, you set up a state that is modeled after the United States, where you have an independent judiciary, all this kind of stuff. You basically administer the country for some years until it's finally ready to go about its own way. And then after that point, you can leave, and there'll be a Western ally that's able to ward off corruption, bribery, that kind of thing, and actually be self-sufficient. That's kind of the goal. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to eventually wind up leaving, and you're going to half-ass it. You'll pull out because people say it's been too long. Now the Taliban gets the country back, so all those people died for nothing. Now they're going to help out Al-Qaeda or ISIS or whoever the fuck do another 9/11 style attack. Now, after the next terrorist attack happens, now all those people that were anti-war Trump supporters, now they want to go and get revenge. Now they go back in there. Now you have the second Afghan war, and then the third Afghan war, and the sixth Afghan war. And now it's 2,300. And you got people saying, we've been there for 18 years on the sixth Afghan war. And it's like, yeah, but you could have done this in one go. It would have just taken 20 years of, 5 years of intense fighting, and then 15 years or plus of nation building. So, but that wasn't obviously implemented because we got Obama. So,
oh boy, I'm not sure where to. I'm not sure where to start. I got a lot of questions. Where to start? So you're saying the problem is we went into Afghanistan and we just didn't put enough resources and troops in.
Partly, yes. There also wasn't the commitment to actually maintain that strategy over a course of 15 to 20 years. So
basically, America just hasn't given enough to Afghanistan.
And the rest of the world. Canada pulled out. That was a complete disaster.
So how many trillion should the U.S. have spent over 20 years?
Well, the cost of it is basically immaterial. It's like saying to you, if you have a house or an apartment or something, how much money should you spend on a lock or a car alarm, this kind of stuff? And you say, what kind of question is that? It's like you'd say enough so that we're secure. You don't want people breaking into your house. How much should you spend on home security? Probably a couple % of your income each year goes into stuff like that. Well, the U.S. spends, 2.5% of its entire economy each year on defense. Only a small fraction of that goes to Afghanistan. You mentioned $50 billion a year. That's nothing. That's like for somebody like me buying a McDouble. That's like for somebody like me buying a McDouble.
That's right now, but over the course of our involvement in Afghanistan, it has been trillions of dollars.
Yes, and the U.S. produced $400 trillion plus in that 20 years of economic.
I can't believe you're saying the cost is immaterial, or you cannot be serious.
Wait, you think not?
You think any amount of money would be reasonable for Afghanistan? Well,
so
if I give you,
what do you think was a fair amount of? What do you think
you're a leader, and
Daniel, what do you think was a fair amount of money to spend fighting Japan? $5 billion, $2 billion, and once you reach that line,
so we're just gonna do World War II analogies rather than focus on Afghanistan.
So 9/11 was the most deadly attack on U.S. citizens since Pearl Harbor, right? Or actually, I believe it killed more people than Pearl Harbor.
Why are we talking about World War II? Why aren't we talking about Afghanistan? Can we just stay on Afghanistan?
Obviously, 9/11 was an equivalent event to what happened in December 7, 1941 with Pearl Harbor.
To say the cost is immaterial, it might sound good and brash, I guess, to you, but it's a ridiculous statement.
No, it's not. The U.S. is the richest country in history. You don't think
if you're the president of the United States right now, and I'm a general, and I come to you and I say, I have a 5-year plan for Afghanistan, and the price tag is $6 trillion, you would say, okay, that sounds good.
Wait, hold on.
Doesn't matter.
The United States right now, I just want to get my numbers right. I'm going to look up U.S. GDP for 2021. Let's just, or I guess we'll go with 2020 because that's when or 2019, we could actually get the results. $21 trillion is what the U.S. Economy produces each year in output over 5 years. That's $105 trillion. $6 trillion of that to be rid of the worst thorn of terrorism in the world, basically for like a long time, decades and decades. And you only have to spend about 5% of your entire economic output at that point to be rid of one of the biggest hotbeds of terrorism ever. That's basically that's brought empires to their knees, from the Soviets, etc. What else? Because again, security is the most important thing that a government can spend its money on. That's the most important thing that you could do, is to protect your citizens against foreign threats. So, as well as to counter your rivals.
So I'll tell you this. Let's just be clear. How much more money would you like the U.S. to pour into Afghanistan?
Well, a lot of what's been spent there was on a half-assed approach. I think a lot of it, especially under Obama, wasn't allocated in a good faith attempt. As far as right now, what would it take? It would take more. It'll take a lot more than it would have cost if you stayed the course in the beginning. But currently, at the moment, I would say, 100,000 plus troops over the course of a few years to get back to the point that they were in back when the Taliban had, hardly any of the country. And then you wipe out the Taliban's remaining strongholds. Over the course of that, it's probably going to run over $1 trillion. But again, keep in mind, a lot of that is going to go back to your economy in terms of where people spend their money. The United States. Where do you think?
Are you kidding me?
Money? Where do you think defense contractors spend their money? You think they spend it in Russia? No, I
thought you meant Afghans buying U.S. products. Okay.
Well, and that's a side effect. It's that Afghanistan.
All those wealthy Afghans. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so you want $1 trillion more in Afghanistan?
whatever it takes, basically. Like, again, I don't
Who
see
cares?
how half-assing
20 trillion, 30 trillion, who cares?
over what
right?
time period? Over 50 years? That's not that much money. So
It's so laughable.
no, you know what's laughable? Letting terrorists get away with attacking America because it would
spending
cost
$30 trillion on Afghanistan is laughable.
If it's over 50 years, that's hardly anything.
Every foreign policy expert would laugh you out of a room. Okay, 30 trillion.
Policy expert, the name one.
Okay, let me just ask you this: Would you spend $30 trillion on Afghanistan? Yes or no?
Well, no, I don't think it would take that much money. Not if you did. Like, again, the course that I'm talking about. The course that I'm talking about would take less than $5 trillion over 20 years. Again.
You just said the cost is immaterial. Why aren't you just saying yes?
Dollars of GDP, dude.
You said the cost is immaterial. I said, okay.
How much would you spend in World War II?
Wait a sec.
How much would you spend in World War II?
I said, would you spend 30 trillion on Afghanistan? And why don't you, if it's immaterial, then just say yes.
Well, it depends over what time period. Again, you can just name big numbers.
It's immaterial.
No. What matters is a fraction of GDP. We're talking a couple percent of GDP. You don't think security is worth a couple percent of your revenue? I got to ask you this. Do you spend money on locks, car alarms, etc.? Do you? Or could somebody just walk into your apartment right now because there's no lock on it?
Any intelligent discussion of Afghanistan should certainly become a discussion about car locks. I agree.
So you don't believe that governments have a duty to spend money on security? Okay. Yeah, because I'm drawing home the point that individual
yes, I believe in spending money on security
than a lot of governments do as a fraction of their revenue. You don't think that the world's superpowers should be at least spend a couple percent of its economy on security? What else should a government even fucking do? I mean, that's the number one duty.
Is security important?
Is to promote its state interests.
Okay, so
maybe a good question to get to the point of it, I guess, would be for Daniel. Would you have? Is there an amount like how much do you think we should have spent on Afghanistan? Would it be nothing? They shouldn't have done it in the first place, or do you have a figure in mind?
Well, yeah. Let me answer this, and I'm going to reference. Have either of you read the Afghan papers?
Oh God.
For the Washington Post expose.
Oh my God! Yeah, we're going with the Washington Post. I thought you were a Trumpist. I thought you were a Trumpist.
You got to let him finish the statement.
But Henry, are you guys aware of that?
I'm aware of it.
Okay. The amount of waste, the billions of dollars of. Let me just give a little story for the audience. I don't know, it might have been the military, it might have been USAID. They had got these billions of dollar budgets. This is in the Obama administration. And they set up a ditch digging program in one of these Afghan provinces. So they hired Afghans to dig ditches. And a few months into it, they started noticing all these little kids out in the streets during the day. And they said, well, why aren't they in school anymore? And they said, oh, well, all the teachers quit to become ditch diggers because these idiots, these American idiots had set the wages, 3 times as high for ditch digging. We built all these radio towers when there were no radio stations. The comical waste.
Wait, what's waste about setting up telecommunications?
That are not used?
Well, yeah, you had no radio towers before. Now they have them. What's wrong?
You're going to deny huge amounts of waste in Afghanistan?
Wait, waste happens everywhere. Are you arguing that
it's not a problem?
No. Are you arguing? But look, is your argument, Daniel? Is your argument that the Afghan war was justified, but that we should make it more efficient? No, let me finish, dude. Here's the deal. Are you arguing that the Afghanistan war was justified and your problem is just that there were certain areas of waste that could have been curtailed and be more efficient? Because it sounds like your argument is big, scary number, so therefore let's not fight terrorism because we're bad, bro. # when are you joining the military, though?
Okay, so I wanted to give a longer, more in-depth answer. So this whole, first of all, calling the Taliban, most members of the Taliban, they want to rule Afghanistan. Okay, I mean,
yeah,
they don't want to. They don't want to. They're not like, okay, well, once we defeat the Afghan government, then we're gonna buy some speedboats and roll up on LA. Okay,
wait, they attacked America in 2001, dude.
Like the Taliban did, or Al Qaeda?
No, Daniel, I just
the Taliban or Al Qaeda?
Who do you think did 9/11? Who did 9/11? Was it an inside job?
Al Qaeda, not the Taliban.
And who gave them a safe base and assistance? What country did the Taliban conduct their operations from?
Well,
you mean Al Qaeda?
You want to get? You want to? I mean.
So you deny that the Taliban was an accomplice to 9/11? You sound like,
but I'm saying the 15-year-old, fighting in the Taliban today, 20 years later. I mean, there was a remarkable, I think it was the BBC report where they went around Afghanistan with a picture of the 9/11 attacks, and they showed it to Afghans. Do you know what the response was, Kevin?
Do you know what the response? No, but I can do this with World War II. That 12-year-old German soldier, he was just a schoolboy when Hitler invaded Poland, and now we're gonna fight him in Berlin. It's like, yeah, he's with the Nazi army. What was asked?
Okay, so they showed all these Afghans the picture of the 9/11 attacks. None of them had heard of it. They didn't know where New York was on a map. They can't read. They can't even read.
Yeah, that's
They're not planning to attack Los Angeles tomorrow.
No. But again, so you're denying the fact that the Taliban was an accomplice to 9/11, and you're saying that random Afghan people they don't know about 9/11, so therefore the Taliban didn't do nothing, bro. Is that what we're going with, Daniel?
No, I'm saying that the Taliban is not the number one threat to Americans today.
No, North Korea is, but it's not that it's not a threat, and it doesn't mean you just forget about retaliating.
Fine. All right, let me try to answer Henry's question. What would I have done in Afghanistan? So, first thing is, this whole promoting women's rights in Afghanistan. You know, like we sent conceptual art teachers to Afghanistan, and all this nonsense for basically a medieval civilization is ridiculous. There should have been no.
We're trying to get them out of the medieval.
Okay, it's their culture. I'm not going to go over there and tell
it's
them
their culture, bro. Hello, Edward Said.
I'm not going to go to Afghanistan. Listen, Kevin, if you want to go to Afghanistan and tell them they have to accept transgenderism, be my guest. Do it as a civilian. Get on a flight tonight and go. You'll be beheaded in a week, but go for it. Okay, but don't tell other people in another country that isn't even your own that they need to go and get their legs blown off.
Hey, man, don't tell other people
feminism on Afghanistan.
Jews, bro. Don't tell. That's their country, man. That's their country. They can just if they want to.
Go to World War II analogies. Yeah. Okay.
So you don't.
So Afghans. Wait. So Afghans
perpetrated against Afghan women is in any way comparable to what the Nazis had perpetrated against, say, the Roma, for example? You don't think that that's in any way comparable? So, like, just literally cutting off a woman's ankle because her niqab got caught in the wind or something.
There's cannibalism in Africa.
Yeah, and I think we should eradicate it.
Should we send U.S. troops
to be
there?
The United States, dude. Do you not?
So we need to just go to Mali and send 7,000 U.S. troops to stop cannibalism and just keep them there?
You wouldn't have to send 7,000.
But you do want that.
Big scary number, bro.
So by the way, this cheap Holocaust stuff where the Afghans, they have a much more traditional culture on gender. That's the Holocaust. That is outrageous.
Wait. So you're defending the Taliban literally chopping off a woman's foot for actually showing some skin? Is that what we're going with? Daniel, are you Muslim? I just got to ask you, are you Muslim? Why would you defend this? Because even most Muslims don't defend that, at least not in the West.
Good. Then they can go, just like you, they can get on a plane to Kabul and they should
So you're fine with it as
go
long as
protest
it's not,
it.
as long as
Go
it's not
there
your
and
backyard.
lecture them. Go there and do something about it.
What good would
Yeah.
that do? I run this channel so that we can change the culture
Okay.
around war, so we can actually make a difference.
So we'll just stay in Afghanistan until they adopt the cultural values of Sweden for 40 years, huh?
It wouldn't take 40 years. Again, I
Oh,
laid
it
out a
wouldn't take
20-year
40
plan.
years.
I laid out a 20-year
Yeah.
plan of nation building,
Yeah.
coupled with 5 years of heavy combat, that would have eradicated these barbarians from the face of the earth once and for all. Daniel, what's your view of women? Do you think that women have equal rights to men?
Kevin,
Answer the fucking question, dude, because that's what everybody wants to know.
I do.
Answer the fucking question.
I do.
So then why do you think Afghan women don't matter? Is it just that you think that brown people don't matter? Is it just that brown people don't matter, Daniel?
So I am supposed to support the U.S. military going to every nation on earth that
We're talking about
does
one
stuff
country.
I disagree with.
We're talking about one country here.
How many nations would we be in if your standard was implemented? Do you know how many?
Not that many, because once you took out North Korea and Iran and
okay.
Afghanistan pretty quickly, the rest of the world would get the message to reform or be wiped off the map. So wouldn't take that many. They come begging to ask what they can do to change to not be invaded once they got the message you meant business. I have a video called "It Only Takes a Few Purposeful Wars to Liberate the World," because once your enemies see that you just nuked North Korea and you just took out Iran, now they're like, "Oh shit, they could come for us next. Let's call up."
Let me just tell you a story. Okay, let me just tell you a story, tough guy. Okay. Do you know the journalist Matt Iglesias? Yeah, Vox.
Matt Iglesias. I'm pretty sure he's a goofy dude. If that's the guy I'm thinking of.
Anyways, he told this story. He went to China. I think it was like 2012 or something.
Yeah, it's this guy.
And he said that they were just
Fox, dude. That guy. I know that guy. That guy's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, his story was he went to China in 2012, I believe, with a bunch of other journalists, and they met all these high-level sort of Chinese government think tank people, and they laughed their asses off at the trillions that we were spending in Afghanistan. Because you know what China does?
They don't have that.
They don't give a shit about pushing transgenderism on an Afghan tribal leader who doesn't even know how to read. They just want the minerals. They just want to build a port, and that's why China is going to kick our ass. And that's why China is going to kick our ass. Because they just want to win.
Wipe out Chinese society in 45 minutes. China can't do the same. China's weak, dude. You're going with the wars for minerals.
Yeah.
Do you think that the reason why the U.S.
Have you even seen the new U.S. Army ads?
Dude, you're all over the goddamn place. So is the U.S. Let's just be clear. I've got a short question here. Is the United States in Afghanistan because of A, 9/11, B, transgenderism, or C, minerals? Which is it, Daniel? Which is it? Because you're kind of contradicting yourself now. First it was the transgenders, now it's the minerals. Which is it? Which is it?
They're not mutually exclusive. That's a ridiculous question to say it's all one or nothing.
Well, you kind of made it out that it was all about transgender.
No. And I wasn't saying it's about the minerals. I'm saying that's a better approach. That's a better approach. That's how China would approach Afghanistan, which is this. We are not going to push Chinese culture on these villagers who can't even read. We just want your minerals.
Yeah, I
That's
think you
why
misunderstood
China's
him,
going
Kevin.
to win.
You misunderstood when he was saying that it would be better if we had gone in there to take the lithium or whatever, if we'd gone there for those reasons versus spreading feminism in Afghanistan. I think that's what he was trying to say.
So you're trying to say basically China wouldn't have tried to export their culture or anything, which isn't true because they're in a longer run game. They want to take over.
If they were occupying it, they would. Sure.
Well, yeah, that's what they're doing in Tibet. So spare me this. Oh, they just want to be their own thing. Then why the fuck did they invade Tibet and Xinjiang? And now they're trying to force their communism on the Uyghur people. So Oh, but it's their sovereignty, right, bro? That's kind of what
You think China would waste trillions of dollars trying to promote women's rights in Afghanistan?
So again, you're talking trillions of dollars. Some pamphlets that you referred to earlier did not cost trillions of dollars. You do understand that the reason why the United States is in Afghanistan is to fight the Taliban.
To keep us safe from the terrorists, right?
Yeah, so you don't think 9/11 was done by the
if
terrorists?
we leave Afghanistan, they're going to attack us.
So, Daniel, let me ask you, do you think that Dick Cheney and Halliburton did 9/11 for war contracts?
No.
Who did 9/11?
What?
Who did 9/11?
Al-Qaeda.
Okay, and how did how did Al-Qaeda do it? Where did they do their bases? Where did they get their training?
So it's 20 years later, and
so you're admitting
you could make your argument 40 years from now. Do we have to stay there forever then?
No, I want to end the endless.
So what is your point?
Winning them. I want to apply hard pressure for a few years rather than this half-assed approach for 30, 50 years where we have Obama and shit where they declaw the force that Bush put there in the first place. Like if the surge had been upheld, Afghanistan would basically be a free country within a few years. But that's not.
You're so wrong on that. That was one of the things I wanted to get to. It's funny. None of the foreign policy experts or military leaders, they all say the same thing. We are not trying to turn. They all say this. They say, we are not trying to turn Afghanistan into a Western democracy. They all say that now. But you still live in a fantasy land where that is still possible. Again, a lot of Afghans don't even know how to read.
But you don't see the Afghan government that exists right now as a step up from the Taliban. You don't see that
not
as
respected by Afghans. It's
not
a puppet government.
The Taliban doesn't like it very much. They've been at war with them for a long time. Why are you on the side of the Taliban?
If it's so great, then I wish them the best of luck, and let's see how it goes for them.
So you don't understand the idea that they need
stand
help
on their
right
own
now.
2 feet.
Yeah, but they are currently engaged in a huge war with the Taliban because Obama declawed the effort to fight the Taliban. Yeah. So you really think that if everybody just pulled out right now that government would be able to survive on its own? That's stupid. Obviously, they need assistance right now. The Taliban hasn't been defeated yet.
Yeah, forever.
No, not forever. Again, if you put 100,000 troops in there and had them there instead of this small presence that's there right now, and you applied that force in the beginning for, say, 5-10 years, the Taliban would have eventually been wiped out, and you would have basically, combed the country and wiped out what little they had, would have fled to Waziristan and whatnot. But you would have set up a government with the security force to repel any further sort of insurrection against them. They don't have that security right now.
Because you're very learned, and I'm sure you know Afghanistan has hundreds of years of history of a very strong central government, correct?
Well, here's the deal.
No, that would be a no.
You can change history. You can forge the world in your image. You don't think that the biggest superpower in history...
Are you joking?
Are you joking, dude? You literally brought up transgenderism as like some big own.
So you think we should spend trillions? If we just spend enough trillions that the Afghans are going to be into gay marriage?
Daniel, so should transgender people have rights or should they be discarded? What's your view?
Yeah, they should have rights.
Then
I don't live in Afghanistan.
Oh, so it's only brown transgender people. They don't have rights, but white transgender people, they're fine.
You can. Oh, so I have to support wars in every nation that I disagree with?
You don't have to do wars with most of them. The Taliban attacked America. There's a reason why you don't have to go to war with Saudi Arabia, because that government is reforming to be more Western. And
there's no gay marriage in Kazakhstan. When are we invading, Kevin?
When did Kazakhstan attack the United States? Again, you're missing the goddamn point, dude.
Let me play like you. Don't Kazakh gay people have rights? Or I guess you don't care about them because they're not white.
Or with the world at once. I mean, technically you could, but it would take a lot of effort. The point is you have to choose your battles.
But don't you care about them?
To choose is the one that the fucking enemy chooses for you when they attack you. Again, you don't understand why the United States is even in Afghanistan. You're saying it's been 20 years. So by that logic, what do you mean bomb Dresden? It's been like 4 years.
Dude. 4 years versus 20 is quite a difference, actually.
No, but the difference but that's an argument for my side because the U.S. went ham. They went 100% in World War II for those 4 years, whereas in Afghanistan, at the beginning, it was 100%, and then it was like, now we're going to go down to 4%. And then, look at that. It takes a long time to get anywhere. Oh, look, we've been there for 20 years when actually, in reality, only a few years of that was actually a committed force. So
that's not true. So basically, your argument...
Obama was a joke, dude. Obama was a joke. Obama pulled out, basically.
Your argument tonight is... The problem with the U.S.'s Afghan strategy is they just didn't put in enough troops. Actually, there was something called the Afghan surge in the Obama administration.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a weak-ass approach.
And so they just didn't do it.
Look, why? Okay, that shit should have been at the beginning and held instead of this yo-yoing where you realize, we drew down troops. Now it's getting bad. Let's put back troops. Why not just have a strong troop commitment in the beginning and then pull out once the job is done? How about that? Why do you want the wars to go on forever, Daniel? Because it doesn't seem like you want to get rid of the problem. Doesn't seem like you want to get rid of the problem. It seems like you just want this half-assed approach.
Hey, where a few more trillion in Afghanistan and they'll be embracing gay marriage, I guess, huh?
So do you think gay people should have the right to marry? Let's just go with that. I like how you're using these buzzwords when obviously the war was over terrorism that was perpetrated against the United States. But again, let's just go with that. So you don't think that gay people should have the right to marry? I guess that's what we're going with.
Okay.
Why?
You think this is a clever argument, huh?
Well, no,
you've already done this before. I already told you. You said, I guess you don't think trans people should have rights. And I said,
only white gay people, only white gay people in the West.
Guess what, Kevin? There's no gay marriage. You know what? Gay people in Kazakhstan don't have a lot of equal rights. I guess we need to start a war.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll go to that old
line.
I'll go to that old Christopher Hitchens line where he said, you know what? We can't go to war with the world all at once, but to the enemies of freedom, mark my words, we will come for you if you don't reform. And I guarantee it. I guarantee it. After you take out North Korea and Iran and the Taliban in Afghanistan and Syria, after that, when those regimes are neutralized and you go in and you say, okay, who's next? If Kazakhstan doesn't want to play ball, then if Kazakhstan's going to fight, say, the West or whatever, then absolutely blow them the Stone Age.
Endless war for gay marriage. Okay, great.
Not endless war. What part? So by that logic, World War II was an endless war because it went on for more than a couple days, right? So you don't understand that wars take time? Why the hell do you not understand that it's better to be the one over there exerting your hegemony than letting your enemies do it? You understand that historically speaking, if your enemy won, it wasn't good for you, right? Why do you want to give Russia and China the world, Daniel?
Okay. China is actually a real enemy. The Taliban is they'll never have a submarine. I mean, they're not.
But the Taliban attacked America on 9/11. Look, I hate the Chinese communists. I hate the Chinese communists. They killed 100 million of their own people. Yeah. When did they attack America? How are they a bigger enemy than the Taliban?
Fentanyl. It's killed hundreds of thousands of Americans.
Well, okay, so let's go to war with China then. That sounds like a pro-war argument.
So, let me ask, what was your position on Libya?
On Libya? Well, Gaddafi should have been taken out, but it was Obama and the French, and they didn't stay the course. They pulled out immediately after, as if all you have to do is take out the bad guy, and then the country's fine. That was completely dumb. You're going to try to pin Libya on neocons? I got news, dude. Neocons wanted to actually nation build there. Obama was a feckless piece of shit who just went in for political expediency to score some points and say, look at me, I got rid of a bad guy. And then he left. And so did the socialists in France. Again, I say this all the time, with allies like France, who needs enemies? Like, those guys are a joke.
Okay. So I assume...
So do you want to go to war with China for fentanyl?
This whole values-based foreign policy of promoting, we got to go to war to promote feminism and democracy and...
Wait, who's saying feminism? You pull that out of your ass.
You just told me that I have to support the war in Afghanistan because I have to support women's rights in Afghanistan.
No. You're missing it. You're missing it. That's a side effect of liberating Afghanistan from the Taliban. You don't understand that the Taliban deserves to be wiped out. So your argument basically sounds like Tulsi Gabbard, where she says, I want to fight Al-Qaeda, but the Taliban didn't do nothing, man. But the Taliban was the chief accomplice. So in other words, let's say you got a kid and they're walking down the street and then some gangbangers roll up and they take out a Glock and they shoot your daughter, say, and she's dead now. And then you go to court and everything, and they go and convict, and they launch a strong prosecution against the guy who shot the gun in the passenger seat. And then guess who's up next for the trial? It's the driver. Driver didn't pull a gun out or whatever. It's actually the passenger. And now what are you going to say? You're going to say, oh, no, let's not go after the driver. He didn't do anything wrong. It was just the passenger who killed my daughter. Oh, sure, he's an accomplice to murder, but like he's not really guilty, right? He just drove a car. That's what the Taliban is to Al-Qaeda. They are culpable for 9/11. There's a moral culpability there, but you're going with, well, they weren't technically the guys in the planes. They just helped the guys in the planes. Well, so therefore, let's not retaliate. Is that what we're going with, Daniel? Why are you so cocked, dude? Why won't you stand up and actually support defending your country from those that actually perpetrated a horrible terrorist attack? They killed almost
Bush was really defending our country when he let the largest amount of illegal immigration while sending American kids to get their legs blown off in the Hindu Kush.
Fucking terrorists, you moron.
You know what? Listen. Your views on Afghanistan are so absurd. I mean,
listen, everything you laid out tonight.
Listen, is fine. Whatever.
Maybe a question to get it back out of the weeds here, and I guess for Daniel, because it sounded like earlier you were saying that you would have been okay with the initial invasion of Afghanistan as a response to 9/11, or maybe not. I'm not sure if you'd said that, but we should have gotten out earlier. Did you have around when would you have thought we should have got out? Like after the first few weeks when they essentially wrecked the Afghan leadership or the Taliban leadership?
I'm actually, I sort of thought that whole Trump thing where we should have taken the oil. It's very stupid in a way, but it's sort of smart. If we could come up with a deal to keep some kind of base in Afghanistan where we could have special access to their minerals and some very strategic situation, and literally just said, and whatever you want to, you can just do whatever you want as far as governing your country, but we're gonna have a base here and we're gonna have access to minerals. I'd be fine with that. But I don't want any Americans. I'm actually American, unlike Kevin. I don't want any American kids getting their legs blown off to promote feminism.
The toughest guys in the world.
Anyways.
The toughest guys in the world that know what they're getting into and get paid to go and fight terrorists.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're just like weak, feeble babies, right? Buddy Clubs here in the chat says, does Daniel even know that the United States has a volunteer army? Like, you understand, like the arguments I made about World War II were actually worse than at the Afghanistan case, because back then it was conscripts. And I've said before, with conscripts, if you're dealing with conscripts, you got to do everything in your power to make sure that nothing ever happens as much as possible to any of them, including, killing 1 million of the enemy to save one of your own. But we have a volunteer army that they know what they're getting into. They're the toughest guys in the world. And you say, but our boys. It's like, these guys are pretty tough. They knew what they were getting into. Some of them want to fight terrorism. When Trump pulled out of northern Syria, for example, you know what the consensus of the troops that were there was? They were like, fuck, everything that we fought for is going away right now. We're going to betray our Kurdish allies. And they watched them get butchered by the goddamn Turks. They were upset about it. They weren't saying,
have you looked at any polls of Afghan veterans?
They got a job literally in any other area. They wanted to go over there and kick ass.
Have you looked at the polls of Afghan veterans' views on that war?
Excuse me? You're saying that...
I'm saying now you care about what the troops think. Have you looked at how Afghan veterans feel about that?
Do you have a poll to
Taliban
Daniel?
They want withdrawal. I can't send you the link right. But anyways, can I just...
50,000 Afghan security personnel have been butchered by the Taliban since the war started. So, yes, Taliban veterans want America out.
No, American troops, veterans of the Afghan war, their views on whether we should withdraw or not.
Did you have a specific poll you were referencing, or?
I've seen it before that they support a withdrawal. But anyways, can I just propose? I actually think
that's bullshit. The military is more hawkish than even a lot of the neocons that are out there in general.
Yeah.
So again,
anyway,
if we had it so that only, like you did the "when are you joining the military" thing meme. If we had it so that only the generals and stuff got to make decisions and people like me got no say, I would take that deal in a heartbeat. You know why? Because then the West would be in 30 wars right now against terrorists, against enemy regimes, etc. Like again, the military tends to be more hawkish than even the foreign policy security.
Well, can I just have 1 minute? Can I have the floor for just 1 minute? Is that okay?
That's what you're going to say. I mean,
wait. So what I was trying to say a second ago is, whether your views on Afghanistan are perfect or not, the facts are that public opinion in the U.S. is they're not going to. President Biden is not going to be sending 100,000 troops to Afghanistan. You'd agree with that?
Yeah, Biden's weak.
Okay. And then probably the next president will probably not be sending 100,000.
Depends if it's Crenshaw. Crenshaw is a little bit different.
Oh, you think Crenshaw would get away with sending 100,000 troops to Afghanistan?
Get away? So you think
that? You think he would try that?
Wait, Crenshaw. Wait, hold on a second. Crenshaw had his eye blown out by an.
I know what his views are, but you bring
up this argument of like, oh, there was this guy that fought in Afghanistan. Now he's against the war. Guess what? Crenshaw is a veteran of that war. And you know what? And you know what he wants to do? He wants to destroy the fucking Taliban, dude. So what's up with that?
So but you really think in 6 years, if he was president, he would be like stepping up to a podium and be like, it's 27 years after 9/11 and we're going to be sending 100,000 troops. You think that's
well, I'm not saying he would send 100,000 troops. Would he increase the presence there? Yeah, because Obama fucked it up. So
so there's suddenly going to be the support for the war in Afghanistan is going to come back
or something. I mean, like everybody's sounded drunk, like because it sounded like you voted for Obama and now you're trying to like justify it and everything. Like
first of all, I don't know why you're personally attacking me.
Did you vote for Obama? Well, I mean, you've done a lot of ad homs here tonight. You accused me of being
I didn't say like you're high or anything like that.
No. But you brought up some stuff, basically implying that like I'm for radical.
Have I attacked you for your appearance or the way you talk? I haven't. So please don't do that to me. Okay. So, but anyways, all I'm saying is this: your plan for Afghanistan, in my view, there's probably a 3% chance that it's ever going to happen. I don't believe there's ever going to be an American president who's going to send 100,000 troops to Afghanistan. So I'm only saying that because why don't we just move to two different areas before we wrap up, which I bet we would agree more on. So maybe it could be a little more constructive. But I can't resist this. You really think Liz Cheney is going to replace Kevin McCarthy as leader of the House Republicans?
Eventually, I would love to see that. Kevin McCarthy is
no. You think it will happen? Or I'm not saying what you want to happen because you said you thought that could happen.
Yeah, well, I what I advocate here at this show is the neocon renaissance, as I call it, where we get strong hawks back in charge and take dubs.
I think he's asking if you think it's realistic, not he's not
it's
saying
realistic.
obviously you wonder.
It's realistic. Is it 100% going to happen? Well, I'm not going to say anything's 100%, but yeah, it absolutely could happen. I think with the secret ballot, because that was one of the things that motivated you to come and challenge me to debate, was that you saw that video, and in that I talked about how there's this meme in the culture that the orange man's upset and we can't anger the orange man, so we have to talk bad stuff about Liz Cheney and everything and say Liz Cheney's super spooky. But then in reality, once you have an actual secret ballot where everybody gets to let their true feels out, turns out 145 vote to keep her, only 61 actually follow the orange man's orders. So looks like typically Republicans are what they are, which is fighters, pretty tough, and they want people like Liz Cheney that can actually get wins, not whiners on Twitter. So
well, yeah, let me just make clear, because I am totally anti-green. I think these QAnon people have to be purged, and I have a lot of issues with Trump, but I also would have loved for Liz Cheney to lose that vote. But I mean, the idea that
Liz Cheney's worse than Q in your view, is that it? Like than QAnon?
Did I say that?
Well, no, because what's implied there is that if she lost that, for example, it would have been a signal that the QAnon people and the Trump people had won and the neocons had lost. So you're basically
that's not why I would assume. I would have liked for them to have also voted to kick Green off of all the committees. Okay. So I am not opposed to her, and I don't care at all about her impeachment vote. I just am going to be pissed when, Biden withdraws 100 troops from Afghanistan 7 months, and she gets up at the podium and talks about this is ruining our self-defense and stuff like that.
She'd be right. The Taliban literally attacked America. Yeah. You don't think so? I got a question for you, Daniel. So a country can a force can attack your country, and you're fine with them getting away with it as long as it's been enough time, and therefore let's not go after them anymore. So in other words, Japan can attack America, but let's not go full out on them. Let's just do a few bombing raids and then call it night, because that would cost money. Is that it?
Kevin, I have an inside source who tells me that you drive a Japanese car. They attacked us at Pearl Harbor. How dare you? Don't you care? Don't you remember the people that died at Pearl Harbor? And now you're driving a Japanese. Yeah, of course time matters.
They're a different government. 2070. They're a different fucking government. And just for the record, I don't drive a Japanese car, but I like the analogy. As if the current government of Japan is the imperial fascist regime that attacked America on Pearl Harbor. That's a joke. You know who actually... the United States is fighting in Afghanistan, and this is why it's a piss poor analogy. The United States is fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan, not the new government. This would only be a good analogy if the U.S. was fighting the current government in Afghanistan, but they're not, and they're not fighting either. The mission was accomplished. The war was ended, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's not ended in Afghanistan yet.
That's a good point. Okay, but how old are you?
Me? I'm 27. How old are you?
Okay. I'm a little bit older than you, but we're pretty close in age.
How can you be older than me and be this dumb? Wow, man.
I'm dumb. Why am I dumb? Because I disagree with you on Afghanistan?
This whole argumentation that you've revealed tonight basically means, the enemy can do whatever they want, but as long as it's been enough years, let's just let it go. You don't understand how deterrent works. You don't understand the idea that if you let them get away with it, it's going to demonstrate to the rest of the world you can do whatever you want to the United States.
Is Bin Laden dead?
What?
Is Bin Laden dead?
Bin Laden's dead. Yes. Is Al-Qaeda still a thing?
Does
yes.
that matter?
Is still a thing? Yes. So
okay. Listen,
Bin Laden's one dude. The terrorists that perpetrated the attack against the United States were more than just them. It was an organizational effort.
Well, let's talk about your beloved Bush's reaction to 9/11, because clearly you never want another 9/11 to happen again, right? Okay, so let's look at Bush. He brought in hundreds of thousands of Somalis into Minnesota. Hundreds. They now have $1 million programs so that they don't join ISIS. Okay, that's your beloved Bush. You want to defend that? Go for it.
Wait. Hold on. So your argument for why Bush doesn't care about 9/11 is that he brought in Somali refugees.
I didn't say that.
Look. Are we seriously going with this? Because you could make that argument about whites. You'd say, hey, look, some whites are considering joining the Proud Boys. We need to spend money to de-radicalize some whites. Therefore, we shouldn't have allowed people from Europe.
You supported Bush bringing in hundreds of thousands of Somali immigrants
into
Minnesota?
I want to be clear.
Yes or no?
Points-based immigration system based on where we can't fill domestic supply and labor, coupled with, and this is important, coupled with a fair asylum system that obviously we recognize that there are people there in the world that are fleeing tyranny and terrorism and everything. Some people that came to the United States from Somalia were fleeing terrorists. They weren't terrorists. It's the same thing with Syria right now. And I'll tell you this, Daniel, if the United States and the West had done what the neocons prescribed in Syria and Somalia, go in there hard, fight al-Shabaab, fight Assad, and get it done and over with in a few years.
Al-Shabaab?
Those people,
you got the wrong continent.
People wouldn't have to be fleeing. They wouldn't have to be fleeing the terrorists anymore because the terrorists would be fucking dead. And Assad would be 6 feet under, a burned out carcass. That's what would have happened.
Terrorists are fighting Assad.
You don't understand. You don't
Al-Shabaab
understand. The reason why people are fleeing is because the United States doesn't have a big presence in the world to stamp down those that are causing people to flee. You're actually making a pro-war argument right now if you're upset about refugees, because refugees wouldn't be a thing. Those 8 million that fled Assad, they wouldn't have been a thing if you had just helped the Syrian people get self-determination, take out their dictator. Now they got a free country, so they don't have to flee their homes to foreign countries that they don't want to be in.
So you like Liz Cheney? Do you know that Liz Cheney
is fucking based?
Excuse me. Do you know that she has opposed the tariffs on China? You support that?
Look, she doesn't have a perfect economic plan, but her foreign policy is pretty good. And foreign policy, as I've argued extensively, is the most important the most important angle. And I think the problem is when it comes to China is that the tariffs that were largely implemented against China, well, they were a good start. I believe obviously they didn't go far enough, and I support a total decoupling from China. Liz Cheney isn't perfect, by the way. Liz Cheney isn't perfect, and you're going to try to say, "Oh, but these people that you like, they have economics that you don't necessarily agree with." It's like, yes, but on the most important issues, I agree with them. And guess what? A lot of the people on your side of things have terrible economics too. So,
all I know is that Bush, Clinton, Obama, their China policy was so terrible that I mean, I'd like to see them brought before Congress just to explain themselves.
So what do you think?
The way they just let China ravage this country.
Okay, but I mean,
you want to put a Cheney back in charge.
No. But I make that argument on this show. The problem is you're basically conflating the priorities here, as if to say that Bush is as responsible as Clinton and as responsible as Obama. Clinton and Obama were people that basically pulled out from the world. Bush was fighting 2 wars. He had a little bit on his plate. I give him more of a pass on China. I give a lot more blame to Clinton and Obama personally than I do to Bush. But I agree that Bush could have done a lot more on China. I regard China as an enemy, and I think that the neoliberal establishment in pushing for outsourcing of labor over there was a massive travesty, and we need to have a protectionistic economic
So why are you supporting a woman who is one of the most pro-China on trade people in the entire GOP?
She's not one of the most pro-China people on trade. As far as
when you oppose all tariffs on China, you are.
Yeah, I don't agree with her on that. I agree with her foreign policy stances when it comes to security and defense. Her economics are too neoliberal for me. They just are. But that doesn't mean that on the most fundamental issues that are of most importance, that she's not right. So I would hope that she would become more protectionist. And I think the future for the neocons, if we want to win big, is to couple protectionist economics, opposing and countering outsourcing, rebuilding manufacturing, and coupling that with a really strong defense stance. That would be how you win, in my view. And I'll tell you this, Liz Cheney is a lot better than Trump, but it doesn't mean that either of them are 100% bad or good. That's the thing. So,
okay, let's talk 2024. Who would you like for the GOP nominee?
Oh, ideally Dan Crenshaw, but it's probably not going to be Dan Crenshaw yet. But ideally, I would love to see Dan Crenshaw with probably Nikki Haley as vice president and John Bolton as national security advisor. That would be pretty based in my view. So, what about you?
I'm interested in Ron DeSantis. You know, I would like there to be a populist in there for sure. I would not support Crenshaw.
Why?
He didn't even know what the 1965 Immigration Act was.
So your issue is immigration, what I gather. My issue is national security. So
it's not the only issue. I do think it's important. I think it's embarrassing he did not know perhaps the most important immigration act in U.S. history as of a year ago. That was shocking.
Okay, but immigration is his primary issue. Immigration isn't his primary issue. It's not my primary issue.
Do you know what the Hart-Celler Act is?
I don't know the details around it. No.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, well, that's a problem. You should probably look into that. Maybe the
immigration isn't like. So, are you a fan of like Nick Fuentes or something? Because he talks.
No.
So,
like, I'm not a Holocaust denier like he is. No.
Okay, but again, it seems like your big thing is you keep coming back and saying, "Oh, well, did he really care about 9/11? Because like, look at his immigration." It's like, dude. Come on, immigration is one aspect of economic policy. National security and literally retaliating against those that attack you, a little bit more important. Again, I would argue it's the main duty of government to secure its country and its interests abroad. Like that's if you can't do that, you don't have a country. You'll be invaded. But
America is coming apart from the inside. Okay.
That's a bit of an exaggeration. That sounds like
what's going on.
No, but that sounds like some Tim Pool hyperbole. Like next year is going to be civil war, and then next year is going to be civil war. It's like the U.S. is a bit more resilient than that. But I agree that there are a lot of problems domestically in the United States.
No, there's not going to be a civil war next year, but they're going to be tearing down the Jefferson Memorial in 20 years. And then
that's a bit hyperbolic. Now. With a trend, if we let like the woke corporations and stuff like that go about their way, and we allow communists and whatnot to continue holding tenure in universities and everything, then yes, perhaps there would be some that would call for that for sure. But again, you want to just surrender the United States to its enemies abroad right now. So it's like
surrender to the Taliban.
I was
writing the Taliban would be in charge.
If China or Russia's in charge of the United States, are they going to keep the Jefferson Memorial up, or are they probably going to replace it with like some communist?
So, if we withdrawed from Afghanistan, what would the Taliban do to the U.S.?
They would work with terrorists again because they'd have a full country. Well, the first thing that they would do is they would attack the government that's there, take over, overrun it. And now that they've got their own base again, now they can
world domination.
Now they can focus on what they do, what they're going to do. Taliban going to Taliban, right? They're going to work with Al Qaeda. They're going to work with ISIS. They're going to work with whoever the hell. And they're going to use Afghanistan as a base from which to conduct international terrorism. They're going to attack America and our allies. That's obvious. And then guess what? After another 9/11 type thing happens, a lot of those people that voted for Trump, but then voted for Bush, like a lot of Trump voters actually voted for Bush back in the day. And now they're going to be saying, We need somebody like Bush that'll go in there and kick their ass because of what they did, killing my dad or whatever, or killing my friend, and then guess what? Now you're going to have to go back into Afghanistan, and now it's going to be 30 years, and then it'll be 20 years.
What if we just stop letting in people from Afghanistan?
Wait,
Has that ever occurred to you?
Wait, you don't think that terrorists can do propaganda campaigns over the internet, for example, to turn people in their own country against
then we'll just block anything from Afghanistan on our internet.
Dude, they'll use a VPN. Dude, you don't understand. Okay. You don't understand that terrorists can attack your country from outside it.
So we can't
be inside the country to attack.
We can't leave Afghanistan because then the Taliban would start sending us dank Taliban memes.
Look, so you don't think it's the responsibility of the largest superpower in the world, the leader of the free world, to fight terrorism? I mean, like, you're against the war on terror. Is that what I'm hearing here? You just don't think that fighting terrorism is important, but you think immigration is important. Like terrorism is a bit of a bigger problem than immigration. Now, I agree that immigration, by and large, would actually act to lower wages, and then can have a deleterious effect on cultural cohesion and whatnot. But again, terrorism is a bit of a bigger problem. So I don't get this idea.
No, I'm a total wacko. I think immigration is really important. I mean, it's crazy. Do you know who Charles Martel? You know who Charles Martel was?
I've heard the name.
Okay, the French
Charlemagne.
Yeah, the French warrior, and he defeated the Muslim Moors in Spain.
This is the guy who defeated
Charlemagne.
Spain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. His famous hero. They built a statue for him in Paris.
Yeah.
You know what that neighborhood is like now?
Oh, well, Paris took in a lot of refugees, and they took in a lot of...
It's a completely Muslim neighborhood.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. A lot of those refugees and stuff that came to Europe, about 8 million from Syria, they wouldn't have had to flee there if we had had a neocon policy on Syria in 2011. And say John McCain had been president, he just straight up would have bombed Assad in 2011, and they'd have their own country right now. We were
involved in Syria. We were funding the jihadists.
Okay, Tulsi Gabbard. I'm going to need a citation on that, please.
Oh,
are you really going with that?
Our Gulf allies weren't giving Gulf allies weren't giving the jihadists a bunch of money.
Wait,
Gulf allies? You mean?
First, you said America.
Qatar.
Now you're pivoting to Gulf allies. That I called you out on that because you don't have a citation.
What?
It didn't happen. But what Gulf allies are funding terrorists in Syria? What Gulf allies?
Not now. They were funding all sorts of groups. Saudi Arabians.
No, they weren't.
People in Qatar.
People in Qatar. Yeah, Qatar, by the way, is kind of an enemy. They're kind of along with Iran and Russia. I'm not a fan of Qatar. Qatar is a joke. I support Saudi Arabia against Qatar, but Saudi Arabia, the government was not funding anything in terms of radicals in Syria. You know who was? Radical Wahhabists within Saudi Arabia that want to destroy the pro-Western government that's there. The Saudi royals are our friends. They were not on the side of the jihadis. That was actually radical insurrectionists within their own country that want to overthrow the royals that were supporting that. In other words, people like bin Laden. It's like blaming Saudi Arabia for bin Laden. It's like, but wait, they kicked him out of the country. They wanted nothing to do with them. Like
all those moderate rebels we were funding that turned out to be terrorists.
Wait, the FSA was moderate and they were let down. So you don't think that if the U.S. went in there with a strong presence early on, that the Assad regime could have been toppled? You think that the United
and you'd
States
have another Libya. Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
Why?
And even if you did, that would still be an improvement over the current status quo, because Libya is better today than they were.
Yeah, you'd have slavery in Damascus. That'd be a massive.
The whole country used to be a slave state under Assad and Gaddafi. The whole country. I got a video on this. Slave markets in Libya. The whole country used to be a slave plantation. It used to be Gaddafi's personal slave plantation.
They weren't destabilizing Europe with the migrant crisis.
Huge improvement over the former status quo.
There wasn't there wasn't a migrant crisis under Gaddafi?
Yes, there was. There absolutely.
What year? What year?
Are you kidding? So you don't
Name the
think,
year.
you don't think that there were migrants fleeing to Europe?
There were some. Where name the year there was a migrant crisis during Gaddafi?
Define a crisis. There were migrants.
I'll define it. 2014. That's my definition. Yeah.
Well, there's a civil war going on right now, but your argument is, well, Gaddafi was good because he managed to have control over the borders so that people couldn't leave to Europe. I got news, dude. Gaddafi was basically evil, and the fact that there's not a government there that can actually enforce its own sovereignty right now is actually a condemnation on the French leader and on Obama for not staying the course there and setting up a pro-Western government. But additionally, you think that some people fleeing Gaddafi or fleeing the chaos and everything is worse than the regime that was there before. In other words, oh, Hitler's good, man, because we used to have these Jews coming to the U.S. They were fleeing to the U.S., but Hitler, he stopped the Jews from fleeing to the U.S.
The Hitler analogies are quite lazy, Kevin.
No, but you don't get what life was like under Gaddafi. You don't even understand it. People weren't even allowed to refer to people by their name or anything.
Yeah, I could show you pictures. There were actual buildings.
Broadcasters could only refer to soccer players by the number on their jersey because the only name that you could mention in public was the great leader Gaddafi. It was a slave state. So the fact that there are a few slave markets there now is actually an improvement over the whole country being a slave colony. The fact that you don't see that, you're a dictator apologist. I want to be clear here. You are a water boy and a cuckold for the enemies of America. So
let's not get X-rated here, okay?
Well, you've already done it. You've already done it tonight. You've prostrated and cucked for all of the enemies of America tonight for us all, and it was pretty X-rated. Okay. That's on you, dude. That ain't on me, dude, for calling you out on it.
Has anything since the start of the war on terror made you more modest about foreign policy at all?
Define more modest about foreign policy.
Well, saying, well, maybe we can't transform cultures the way that some people thought we could in 2002 with promoting democracy. Nothing in this 20-year period has shaken that point.
Wait. Okay, where in the fight on terrorism was there actual nation building that was attempted? Because don't say Libya or Syria, because the U.S. immediately pulled out of Libya, and in Syria the U.S. never really got involved. So where in the fight on terrorism?
Western democracy and stabilizing Afghanistan.
But Afghanistan is way better off today than they were under the Taliban. It is vindicated the neocons, dude. The fact that the Taliban doesn't control that much anymore has vindicated the neocons, because back before the invasion, they controlled the vast majority of Afghanistan.
Actually, they control a lot today, actually. But
but that was because of Obama and Trump, though. That wasn't because of Bush. You think Bush wanted that to happen? Bush went in there with a big troop commitment. And then Obama gutted it. And then, of course, you're right. He did have to do a surge because he realized that made things worse, obviously, because the job wasn't done yet. But you don't think that today's Afghanistan is an improvement over what they had before the invasion? Is that what I'm getting here? Because everything
I'm not an Afghan
indicated my side and condemned your side.
No, but we're getting back into Afghanistan. I just asked a broad question. Anything that has happened in the last 20 years since the war on terror, has it made you more modest about foreign policy? That's all I asked. Can you just answer that?
What do you mean by modest, though?
Maybe a better way of saying it, Kevin. Because modest, is there anything over the 20 years of the war on terror where your view has changed at all? Like, has there been any point where you saw it didn't go so well and changed your mind and had reservations?
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that has happened, actually. When I was a kid and I watched 9/11 happen, I was like 7 years old, and I didn't really know very much about politics or anything, but I loved Bush after that and everything. Back then, when I was a lot younger and everything, I thought it was like, you go in there, you kick ass and everything, and then once you've killed the bad guys and stuff, then you can go home and everything. What I've learned now, after growing up and everything, is that it's not just enough to drop some bombs or to send troops in and everything. You have to couple it with a strong long-term commitment, an unwavering commitment to do nation building that just simply wasn't done. And so the lesson there is you obviously have to do shock and awe and all that kind of stuff and everything in the beginning. And you got to hold the pressure until the enemies are neutralized.
Right. So that seems like the answer. It seems like your answer is basically no, that if anything, your positions have become more stronger and entrenched with the.
Well, I wouldn't say more entrenched. I would say I'm more for nation building now than I used to be, and I'm for more troops now than I used to be.
Okay, great. That's all I wanted to ask. Thank you, Henry. Can I just pivot as maybe a final topic? And I'd actually, if possible, I'd be curious to hear what Henry has to say on all of this. But as a sort of final subject area, a less combative area, perhaps, between you, let's talk China and America. Maybe the framing could be, I think China's going to win. I don't know. Do you disagree with that?
If we do your style, where we just let go of the world and pretend it doesn't exist and pull out everywhere, yes, China will have.
No, but less argumentatively, forgetting about me, do you think China's going to win?
Well, I go with what Robert Kagan talks about with this, where he says basically that just because the good guys are the good guys doesn't mean that the good guys have to necessarily win in some deterministic fashion. If the good guys lose sense of their morals, lose sense of their guiding values, and lose the will to fight and pull out everywhere, then the bad guys can easily win the world. And as he says rather that, quote, the jungle will grow back, unquote, referring to primitive dark ages, tyranny, that kind of thing, that they will win the world and will be buried if we don't bury them, basically. And so my view of it is that if the West continues along what I call the era of cringe, which is why I started this channel, to cut through that era and get us to the neocon renaissance, if we don't do that, if we don't seriously change the West to a point where we're patriotic again, where we are committed again, we believe not just that, oh, our system is good here, but that we are the best, and that we have to not only protect ourselves, but we have to promote our interests abroad, that we have to deal with them over there before they bury us over here. If we don't get back to that understanding that we had during the Cold War, for example, the last Cold War, because we're in, of course, a new Cold War with Russia and China, if we don't have that happen and we allow ourselves to become surrendered and forfeited to relativistic degeneracy and self-doubt and defeatism and isolationism, then they will 100% bury us and be victorious. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can get strong leaders again, and we can have a neocon renaissance to overturn the era of cringe and to start taking dubs, fat dubs again. So that's my answer.
You brought up Kagan, and that reminded me, perhaps this is a better area of disagreement. Robert Kagan hates Putin. He hates Orban.
Good.
So he hates the government in Poland. Let me just ask, so you hate Viktor Orban?
Viktor Orban, I've described him as essentially, I had a video, but YouTube removed it because apparently it was offensive or whatever. I had a video called The Descent into Darkness, the real life Darth Vader. And it's the only video that's ever been taken down from this channel because of YouTube bullshit. But basically, I talked about Viktor Orban's upbringing, how he was this prodigy of George Soros, and how George Soros paid for him to go to Central European University, which was like one of his pet projects and stuff, and how Viktor Orban was really a darling of George Soros for the longest time. But then they had a falling out, and now George Soros lives rent-free in his head. And when he went on to basically become leader of Hungary and everything, George Soros, despite being super wealthy, he doesn't need to live rent-free. He could pay his rent. He still lives rent-free in Viktor Orban's head. That's another asset of his. And so Viktor Orban has done everything despite his former mentor. And he's basically become Darth Vader to the emperor now, where he's cucked himself to Putin and fallen in love with Putin, and turned his country away from this trajectory that they had, where they could have been a rich Western flourishing democracy, and tried to turn them into a Russian oligarchic, stagnant backwater. And my view of Viktor Orban is that Viktor Orban should be expelled from NATO the same way as Erdogan should be. That he should be regarded as no less of an enemy than, for example, Vladimir Putin himself. And I did hear you mention Poland in there, and I thought that was interesting because I'm a huge fan of Poland. Poland is the opposite of Orban. They are incredibly pilled when it comes to Russia. They know what the Russians will do if they win. They've read their history. There's a reason why the militias in Poland are actually bigger than the standing army in Poland, because the average Poles get it. If the Russians win, they will be buried, literally, right? We can go back to the Cotton Woods massacre. So Poland actually incredibly red-pilled on Russia. Orban, he's fallen in love. It's embarrassing. Orban is like the opposite of Poland, man. He's a simp for Putin.
So he should be kicked out of NATO because he's not like, that warrior for the West, Merkel, and her open borders, huh?
Yeah, Merkel is a joke. She's a complete simp for Russia.
So you hate the guy that built a border fence, huh?
I don't, but you
Mr. Hawk.
Go back to immigration. There are more important things.
It doesn't matter at all.
Merkel and Orban both simp for Vladimir Putin. Merkel's successor, Armin Laschet. We did a stream with Timothy, who's a German neocon, and he was going over Armin Laschet, and he did an awesome thumbnail drawing and everything for me for the stream. And we talked at length about how Armin Laschet is basically this up-and-coming prodigy of Merkelism, which is basically a prolonged Schroederization where we just sell off Germany to Russia, we simp Russia, we tear down Germany's nuclear plants and replace it with Russian energy. No, Germany and Orban are a joke. They're a disgrace. I despise the both of them. The only good leaders in Europe right now, the only good governments in Europe right now are in the United Kingdom and Poland and Estonia and Georgia and Ukraine. That's it, basically. The French are a joke. I said it before. With allies like these, who the hell even needs enemies, Well,
let's talk about Putin, actually, if that's something we disagree with. So I notice on Twitter the same blue checks who spend half of their days trying to destroy free speech in America or spend their nights crying about there's not enough free speech in Russia. So I really don't trust them.
I'm against big tech censorship, by the way. I just want to be clear.
But do you notice that? All these blue checks who say, YouTube has to delete all these accounts and stuff. And then they talk about Russia and they're like, there's not enough free speech.
I got a couple questions. First off, which blue checks? But second, because we're talking about Russia, what do you think of Putin? Are you net positive or net negative in your view of Putin?
Well, I think that the people promoting Navalny are so nefarious in the United States that I'm very suspicious of him.
Oh, really? Because I don't like Navalny.
Okay, why?
I did a video on that, actually, because Navalny is a Russian nationalist, and if he was in charge, Russia would be a bigger threat because he'd get rid of corruption and make their military more efficient and less stagnant, so they would be a better threat to us. So he's not.
Why can't Russia be an ally against China? I think they should be our ally against
because
China.
They hate us. They want to. They've got 8,000 nukes aimed at us. Are you kidding me? Russia. Look, here's the thing about the Cold War. The Cold War never ended. The only difference is that the only thing that changed was that the Kremlin swapped out communism for fascism, and the West pretended that the Cold War was over because we were naive and thought, oh, let's be buddies. Same with China and stuff. The thing is, Russia can't be an ally with China for the simple reason that Russia, an ally against China, for the simple reason that Russia basically is a de facto ally of China. Russia and China understand that America is their common enemy, despite their differences with each other. It's why they trade oil, all this kind of stuff. What do we have in common with the Russians? They run a thug state that
we have made the Russians hate us because we've been trying to. I remember quite well. What?
How did we do that?
Wait, I'll explain. Do you remember when Putin passed some law? It was like against gay propaganda. Do you remember that? It was
I remember that.
Yeah, and this is during Obama's term, and it's like I don't know if we sanctioned them, but we had our State
There were no
Department.
sanctions over that. The sanctions over the invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah. But we had our State Department and our ambassador getting all involved in this stuff.
Well, yeah, it's something that you would have statements over.
Well, why? So that's worth alienating Russia.
Well,
to get involved.
Russia and America were already enemies at that point, though.
They don't have to be. I don't believe we have to be enemies. But we keep trying to get involved in their politics. I don't.
So do you think that like Putin? So I guess I'll ask you this: do you think that Putin's like basically saved Russia? Do you think that Putin's good for Russia? Do you think that that's good what he's doing?
Well, I mean, Putin's very complex. I mean, certainly, if we were talking in 2008. If we were having that discussion then, you could say that. I mean, in the sense that he raised living standards from where they were in the 90s, in the chaos of the 90s.
But that's not exactly true. But do you think?
Oh, really? That's not true.
No, it's not true because in 1989,
I think Russians would be surprised.
In 1989, the average Russian made about 10,000.
No, I'm talking about 1995.
No. In 1989, the average Russian made about 10,000 US dollars per year. And you know what they make now?
I'm not talking about 89.
That's all in real terms. You know what they make now after 30 years of the Putin system and the Yeltsin system? They make the same amount of money. So all the profits of their labor for 3 decades went to the oligarchs. So
I'm saying from the 90s, the chaos of the Yeltsin years, like 1995. He's brought living
still poorer than they were under communism, dude. And
whoa. Are you really saying that Russians were better off in 1996 than they were in 2007? Are you kidding me?
Better opportunity of actually shaping their
standard of living.
They had a better fuck your standard of living. They had a better opportunity at shaping their country in 1996 under Yeltsin than they do today, where they have no shot at changing anything.
Shaping their country. No. I'm saying, when was Russian standard of living higher? 1996 or 2007?
In terms of freedoms, it was actually higher.
Standard of living.
No. But you want to go purely to GDP, purely my GDP. That's it. That's the only thing that matters to you. Is just how much.
So you won't answer the question. Okay.
No. Well, you understand that freedom also matters in terms of money. Right?
I know, but I was asking a specific question.
I would take freedom over money. So people were better off in 96 than they were today, where it's all basic. So
you're acknowledging that they were better off in.
The Russian state was weaker in 1996. They were able to do less.
Russians were poorer
lives than they do now. But so basically, your stance on this is that Putin was a good force over Yeltsin. Do you think that Putin is better than any of the Western leaders? Then
I think most Russians liked what Putin did in like the first 8 years after Yeltsin.
They don't have
getting rid of the. What?
Most of them don't have internet access. About 30% of households in Russia actually have access to internet.
Once again, you just are so arrogant. You know Russia better than the Russians. You're telling them right now how great the Yeltsin years were.
No, I've studied Russian.
I actually listened to Russians who say it was a disaster.
Is that to the extent that they tend to defend Putin, some of them are true believers, some of them are so old, but the general sense of those that stand by him is, well, it could get a lot worse if he wasn't in charge. They don't even like him. They're just worried that things could get worse. That's the sense of the Russian mindset, by and large, is that, well, without Putin, things could get worse. They don't think without Putin, things could get better because they are a nihilistic country. They're obviously incredibly, we want to talk about degeneracy and stuff. They're a country that's awash in alcoholism, drug abuse, etc. Little opportunity because all the fruits of their labor go to the oligarchs. There's no future they see. And so in their mind, things could just get worse because Russia's been a 1,000-year spiral where, and then the new leader came in and now things went south. It's like, so they have good reason to be skeptical of who might take over after Putin, that they could be even worse. I find it funny you think that Navalny was like funded by the West. He's a nationalist. He's not pro-West.
Anyways, how about this? I would love to hear what Henry thinks on this, and then maybe we could do closing statements. Is that okay with you?
Okay, I just got one more question for you, though.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's kind of a meme. But do you think that Putin? Do you think that what Putin's agenda is? Do you think that what Putin's sort of value system is and his sort of outlook on things? Do you think that he offers a solution for the West? You said you want to get closer to Russia. Do you think that he could save us from ourselves? Is that kind of what you're going with?
Well, if Cory Bush and BLM, some BLMers, the president of the United States, and France is, like become a Islamic republic. Yeah, I do think in that situation, which is actually not as insane as it sounds. Yeah, a Putin figure in that sense would represent sort of hope, wouldn't he?
So you think he'd be a savior of the West?
In that situation, as bad as he is, wouldn't he be? Or what? Would you side with the Islamic State?
You did the meme, dude. You actually did the meme. Because here's the thing. What you're saying amounts to what I would interpret as sedition, basically, because you're saying instead of us changing our own system, instead of having faith in our own institutions, instead of getting us back to, say, Republicans and this kind of stuff, you're saying let's literally side with the enemy and just abandon our project. And let the Russians overrun us. So
let me ask you a question.
No. But this is the difference between us, Daniel, is that for both of us, we both see problems in the existing status quo in the West. The difference is I want to win within the democratic system here, whereas for you, you're basically saying, well, if there's a president I don't like, maybe we could work with the Russians against them.
I didn't say that.
That's seditious, dude. That's seditious.
I didn't say that. Wait, but that makes me want to ask: are you going to support this new domestic terror law?
Which domestic terror law?
The one they're talking about in the U.S. Are you aware of it?
On it?
You haven't heard about this?
No. I mostly focus on foreign policy. You gotta give me specific.
After the Capitol riot, they've been saying we need a domestic terror law to like go after the Proud Boys and stuff like that.
I think the Proud Boys and BLM and Antifa are terrorist organizations, absolutely. So I think what they've done to Minneapolis, to Atlanta, and of course to the Proud Boys and whatnot at the Capitol amounts to terrorism. Absolutely, is domestic terrorism. What Antifa is doing in Portland, for example, is terrorism. I think that there needs to be a new version of the Patriot Act that focuses on these fringe radicals. What you don't?
Okay, so you would. So the answer is yes.
You don't think they're a threat. So
you really don't know anything about the FBI.
No. I know what you're getting at here. You're going to say, well, but the bill's mostly focused on the Proud Boys. My criticism of that, my criticism of these anti-terror sort of proposals that are out there is that they don't focus evenly enough on left-wing terrorism as they do on far-right terrorism. I want to go after them both. I despise left-wing terrorists. I despise Antifa. I despise BLM, and I despise the Proud Boys. And there's a reason the Russians like both of them. There's a reason the Russians hype up both of them, because they see them both as bringing about the downfall of our social fabric.
Do you like the FBI?
I do, yeah.
Oh, have you ever heard?
Wait, do you like Law and Order, Daniel? Do you like Law and Order, Daniel?
Have you ever heard of the FBI doing a sting operation against Antifa?
Well, they don't usually publicize.
Can you reference that?
They don't usually publicize a lot of their ongoing investigations. Antifa is still a current menace. They've probably got agents right now in Antifa.
So you can't cite any.
Yeah, why would they tell us?
Oh, I could tell you about hundreds of FBI sting operations against right-wing groups, but I can't tell you of any against Antifa. Isn't that funny?
Well,
what does that tell you about the
right-wing
FBI?
groups, well, there's a bit of a difference there. Right-wing groups, while they tend to be a bit smaller in number than Antifa, they also tend to be more deadly per capita. A lot of the right-wing groups tend to have, like some of these militias and whatnot, they tend to use guns more than Antifa and whatnot. So Antifa, even though they cause a lot of property damage, which is horrible, and I believe that the institution of private property is the foundation of our civilization, but so is life. And a lot of these right-wing groups tend to be responsible for more shootings and whatnot that actually result in death more often than the left. But I think that the left is a gross menace at large, and they have the potential to cause a lot of carnage as well. But it is true that Antifa hasn't killed as many people as the far-right terrorists have, but they're both despicable ideologies. It's like saying, a far-right dictatorship, a far-left dictatorship, who's worse? It's like, well, one might have killed more people, but they're both awful. So that's my view of that.
I don't like do you know the head of the Proud Boys is the FBI or a federal informant?
Enrique Torrio or whatever. He's
an informant.
He used to inform for the FBI. That's, yeah.
The Michigan
the
kidnapping.
About that. The Proud Boys are pissed about that, though.
I would never. If anyone is listening who is ever considering going to a Proud Boys event, I would say do not do that. Don't be an idiot. Okay, so we agree on that.
So you're against the Patriot Act, by the way, because when you said,
yes,
"Oh God,"
for sure,
you're against the Patriot Act. Why?
Yep.
Why? So you just want to let terrorists plot shit and have the government have no oversight over it?
Oh, I'm glad you made that point. Okay, there was a great book, and if you're an honest intellectual, I would encourage you to read a book called The Terror Factory. It's about the FBI. And the guy went over all of the FBI terrorism cases since 9/11. And I think it was like 751 or something like that. And he said that he could count on one hand the number of cases that did not intimately involve an FBI agent.
Wait, but you're going with I'm just looking at this book. I haven't read the book, but I did look up the author. Trevor Aronson he's a contributing writer for The Intercept. So you're going to have to forgive me here. I take The Intercept, that fifth column piece of filth. I take that with a bit of a grain of salt.
Well, I was wondering, is
so
we couldn't, at least I couldn't hear the end of what Daniel had said there about you're saying it was just a handful that didn't involve an FBI informant?
Yes.
Well, so like someone giving information to the FBI as a...
Well, look at what they do is remember the Michigan governor? They were going to kidnap her. Remember that story?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, who was involved in it? Who was setting up these meetings? Oh, it's an FBI informant.
Right, but an informant is someone that they don't. I mean, they give information to the FBI.
No. It's like Ruby Ridge.
Daniel is actually it's making the FBI look good because it's saying of these cases that happened, the FBI was actually they were on the beat.
Like they hatch the plots. They give the money.
That's Intercept propaganda. The Intercept is an anti-American publication that does propaganda to make the Russians look good. Dude, Glenn Greenwald has literally been associated with them. He was one of the founders. Why would you trust this bullshit? So your argument against the Proud Boys, the Patriot Act, is that basically, these threats they're fake or they're made up or they're overhyped because when they've happened, the FBI was there. Well, no, one of the reasons why the FBI was there is because you have Patriot Act warrant powers that you wouldn't have otherwise. So you think we should just not spy on any people? You think that
no, they weren't just there, Kevin. They were getting the dumbass militia members drunk around the campfire and then saying to them, this is what they always do. Hey, man, if the government came for our kids, man, if they were raping our kids, we'd have to fight back, wouldn't we? And then one of these dumbasses says yeah, I guess we would. Bam, get them on the air.
Well, I guess a question for that is so you're saying that the informants, to me, it just sounds like you have a misunderstanding of what an informant is.
Yeah.
Because like
Oh,
it
you're
sounds like
saying they don't
you're
do that?
saying that they're
Entrapment
instigating.
works, Daniel. You don't understand how entrapment works because
Well, no, I don't want to like. It's just they're basically snitches essentially.
yeah.
No.
They're people that are part of the organization that then tell the FBI, "Hey, this stuff is going on," or whatever. It sounds like you're saying. Are you talking about instigators? Like the FBI puts plants into these
Oh, yeah.
organizations to
They get
stir
them
them up?
drunk and get them to say something.
So you think they're
and then
FBI
they get
that infiltrate it? You think they're agents that infiltrate the groups? Is that it? They're not
Who's
just informants, they're agents.
undercover.
I don't think he's saying they're agents. He's saying they're plants.
informants, paid
working.
informants.
Okay.
Who get
Well, an
paid
informant
lots of
isn't-
money.
An informant
That's-
is just a snitch, essentially. It's not.
Yeah,
The
wait,
FBI is basically just a secret
wait,
police.
you're against? Are you against paying them to snitch on these terrorist groups? Though
Snitch is the wrong word. That's not what they
That's what
do.
an informant is.
so what are they, like crisis actors or what's?
Have you ever heard of Ruby Ridge?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Why was the FBI going after him? Because an FBI undercover informant offered him like
It's not an undercover. That's
What?
not what an informant is. Like
What are you
I
talking
hate to
about?
interrupt about that. I'm just.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just for clarification. An informant isn't an FBI agent. That's a different thing. They don't work for the FBI. Like they're essentially a snitch. That's the simplest way to put it, I suppose.
An undercover agent paid by the
Okay.
federal government offered Randy Weaver $7,000. I believe it was $7,000. He said, "Hey, could you saw off the end of this shotgun?" And Randy Weaver did it. He got paid. Boom. They had like these gun charges on him. That's the whole thing behind Ruby Ridge. They've done this thousands of times.
Well, you're saying
So
it's
this is your
entrapment,
beloved-
essentially.
Wait, so the argument is that all these cases are entrapment, but you understand that the lawyers for those that are accused would bring up entrapment, and that in certain entrapment cases, it can actually be grounds for dismissal of a case against someone, right? Like that there are actually laws that protect
Yeah, but why do 90+% of these cases never go to trial, Kevin? Why is that? You want to know why?
90+%. Again,
Yeah, why do most of these cases they end in a plea deal? Do you know that?
Well, a plea deal. Look, okay. Here's the thing. You got to understand. I know you're going to give me the Young Turks line about how plea deals are. They're the system being bad and stuff. Look, if you do a plea deal, you're essentially you're playing guilty to avoid greater charges. But you're essentially you're admitting guilt. You're just saying I don't want them to throw the book at me. In essence, if you were truly innocent, you could go to trial. You could definitely
no. Even if you're innocent. When the FBI, what they always do is they always put on like 32 counts of this and that. And so they go to these people and they say, look, if we don't beat you on this first count, which is like a 40-year sentence, we'll beat you on the second. And so it's like you have no chance. But so people plead guilty all the time.
No. But these people, they don't just go to a random person's house. Like, I'm assuming you're not with these militia or whatever. They're not just going to go to your house and be like, "Hey, man, want to like do an insurrectionary act against us?" And then you say, "Oh yeah," and then like they're like, "Okay, you're under 46 counts of this and that or whatever." They don't do that. They go after people that are actually plotting stuff. And yes, they hype up the charges and stuff. They use everything in the law against you. Everything can and will be used against you in the court of law.
Does the FBI abuse its power?
It depends. That's a subjective thing, though. That's really a subjective thing because I don't think they're given enough power. Personally,
you seem to think they're pretty pristine.
Well, the FBI
never abuse their power.
All works against terrorism, and you've already told me you're against the Patriot Act, which leads me to another question. Then, which is,
am I a terrorist?
No. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm not going to ask you that. But what I am going to ask you though is, what's your view on Edward Snowden? Because a lot of the people that are against the Patriot Act, they think that he was justified. They think he's a good guy, and I obviously don't. I would just want to get your view. What do you think? Like, because you're against the Patriot Act. What do you think then of Edward Snowden? Because Edward Snowden greatly compromised American security, but a lot of what he was You know, a lot of what he was doing and everything, that sort of stuff was leaking. He was leaking systems of how they operate in terms of, X key score, this kind of stuff under the Patriot Act to ward off terrorism. So do you think he was good? Do you think he was justified?
I think it's complex. I think, I can understand some of the arguments if they pertain to China and revealing sources and methods. But unlike you, I do not view the NSA and the FBI as this benevolent, always going to be pristine. These are partisan organizations. The FBI is a partisan organization, and they abuse their power constantly. And the idea that the only people who plead guilty to FBI are guilty people, you clearly know nothing about the judicial system.
When you say partisan, you're talking like, I guess technically like they're not with Trump, but a lot of the guys at the FBI are Republicans. They're not Democrats. Like, I'm not a Democrat. Like, I don't live in the U.S., but if I was in the U.S.,
find me the Antifa FBI sting operation. Find me it.
Well, they have one. I mean, I don't know about sting operation. They have investigated Antifa. That's not
any convictions.
Oh, sure. I mean, there was a guy that firebombed
yes,
in an immigration facility, but it's so that's. I don't want to interrupt you. Just as a point of clarification,
please.
They have done this when the acts of terror are committed, and it's also a lot of their arrests don't warrant FBI. A lot of their stuff is riots, so it's more. It's not going to be FBI stuff. But
do you guys remember June when the FBI was taking a knee for BLM?
Daniel,
yeah, sure. You were saying that they haven't investigated them or done operations. They have. It's less than right-wing organizations, certainly.
Daniel, are you aware of Trey Arrow? Trey Arrow was an eco-terrorist, for example, and the FBI went after him and threw the book at him and all this stuff, and he is actually kept in a jail in the city that I live in, for example. And he was somebody that fled the United States, and yet he firebombed logging trucks and stuff. He was like one of those tree huggers and everything. Clearly left-wing guy, not right-wing militia and everything. What he was doing was obviously domestic terrorism, but people didn't die in what he was doing. Yet the FBI they threw the book at him, man. So this idea that they're soft on left-wingers, that's not true. They're mostly Republicans.
Well, no, I mean it's. I don't know about that one, but if you're asking about Antifa investigated by them. There was that guy, we had done a video on it on my channel, that Von Spratten guy or whatever his name was.
They gave him 14 counts. They gave him 14 counts of arson and conspiracy in Trey Arrow's case. Some people would say that's just throwing out a bunch of stuff, the same way that you were saying about the right-wing militia. My point here to bring up Trey Arrow is that the FBI does this in case of domestic terrorism. They don't just do it if you're right-wing or if you're left-wing. They do it if you're a domestic terrorist. That's what their job is. They're mostly
Kevin, you keep telling me men are taller than women, and I know an WNBA center who is taller than me. So boom, I just owned you.
No, but you're missing something. Antifa.
Yeah, you can find one example, 2 examples. Great, wonderful.
Okay, but so are you denying that the right-wing terrorists, domestic terrorists, tend to be more deadly than what the left wing does? Now, I'm not saying we should ignore the left wing. I think they have the potential if they get guns, and a lot of them. It's good that a lot of them think guns are scary and spooky. I'm glad, because it means they don't kill as many. But the right wing tends to kill more people when they do terrorism than the left wing in America.
Kevin, how can I deny? I mean, we both watched all summer the Proud Boys burning down buildings, rioting, all through. Right, that's what happened this summer, right? It was the white supremacist militias, right?
I'm very much against the riots and everything that happened there. However, in terms of planned terrorist sort of attacks that you could get an informant in there on to be of use to the FBI, it's mostly far right plots.
Like Adamwaffen, right?
A lot of that left wing shit that went down in the summer was spontaneous, and I've been critical of the police for not doing enough. They stood down at Minneapolis and let them burn down the precinct, and their reason was that if we went in there, people might get killed and stuff. And I'm like, look, you have to lay down the law and you can't set a precedent that if you come in with enough mob that you'll get away to burn stuff down. I would have gone.
I would think maybe a good question is for Daniel, since you're trying to make the point that the FBI are they're ignoring, I guess, the left-wing extremist terrorist groups.
Yes.
Do you have an example in mind where
Yes.
there was a left-wing terrorist extremist group plotting something that they ignored?
Yes. Well, plot. I look at so the Capitol siege, and obviously those people should be arrested. They have arrested, I think it might be up to 300 people.
Right, but
they're using their phone data. Wait a second. They're using their phone data and videos and facial recognition technology. Now, there were buildings burnt down in America over the summer. A lot of those people had cell phones. A lot of those people were on camera. But hey, they're not using the tech for that.
Well, they did. I mean, they did arrest.
Oh, they did. Oh, they did. They did. Where's the FBI arrest for BLM riots?
It's not a federal issue necessarily.
It's not federal. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a different thing. But
yeah, the Capitol building is federal. It's administered at a federal level, whereas what happened in Minneapolis, for example, that was largely prosecuted by the state level that was there. It wasn't seen as like a federal thing. Now, granted, I wish that they would have used more. Like, one of the reasons why I support the Patriot Act is I wish that this sort of thing would be applied on a bigger level. And I think the criticism here isn't, oh, the FBI should have been weak on the insurrectionists at the Capitol. I think that we should go harder on a lot of those that were at the BLM thing. It's just, again, when we're talking about informants, it doesn't really work, because how do you have an informant that's just telling the FBI, say, for example, oh, they're about to burn down, say, the Wendy's in like 5 minutes? It's like, that was a spontaneous thing.
What about Antifa attacking the Portland federal courthouse? Why didn't they use facial recognition and the cell phone records?
They should.
They didn't. So I'm just acknowledging.
Do you have a reason to think they didn't?
They didn't.
They don't tell you.
Why do you think they didn't?
Because I find the news story about 200 arrests of Antifa from FBI getting their phone records. They didn't. But anyways, listen.
Were they wearing masks?
But their phone records. Phones. But anyways, listen. You talk about right-wing terror. And one of your best examples could have been Atomwaffen. Have you ever heard of Atomwaffen?
No.
Neo-Nazi, terrorist, domestic terrorist, far-right group, okay? And they're doing the swastikas and the, okay? Well, wouldn't you be shocked? The co-leader of Atomwaffen was a guy named Joshua Caleb Sutter. He's a neo-Nazi Satanist who literally writes books about glorifying the abuse of children. And he's a government informant. Ooh, I mean, so they are totally out of control. They don't need more power.
I'm looking up the Atomwaffen right now, their division. You don't think that these people are something that the FBI should probably get to get an informant in there?
Oh, no, he was a leader, Kevin.
Okay, that's even better. That means that they had an even better source.
He was pushing them to glorify mass murder.
Okay,
he was not just standing there with a recorder.
That's like saying we had a spy at the KGB, and get this, he was in the upper echelons. How horrible! It's like, wait, no, that's good.
The FBI should be funding a guy to write books about abusing children. No.
You can't just let the gig up. You have to let things go on so that you can collect evidence, though. You don't understand how espionage works. So do you think that
this guy was pushing them to do attacks?
Do you think that America having a spy in the FSB at the Lubyanka headquarters, do you think that that's bad and they're a traitor because they're working with the Russians, but it turns out they're with America? That's really no. That's a good thing, dude. You want to have.
You don't think there should be any dividing line between
places, my dude? It's even better he wasn't rank and file. If he's a leader, that's an even better intelligence source. You don't. So you're basically doing the dirty.
He was pushing them to get more violent.
Doing signaling problem right now, where you're saying, "Oh, we shouldn't work with these bad guys." even though they're helping us get dirt on more bad guys. So you think we shouldn't have worked with Pinochet then? You think we shouldn't work with Saudi Arabia then? Is that it?
You're talking about foreign policy. I'm talking about inside America. I don't want the NSA and the CIA and all this crap that they do in other countries with informants and stuff. I don't want them doing that domestically.
Oh, so
I
you
see
don't
a
want to know
difference.
what these groups are up to. Let's just not have informants.
No, I don't want FBI informants starting the groups.
No. But the group was going to be founded, whether he was a co-founder or not. Would you, Daniel? Would it be better? Would it be better that a group's co-founder, one of their co-founders, be FBI or not be FBI if they're a domestic terrorist group? Would you rather have one of their co-members be an informant to the FBI or not? Simple question.
In the case that you're talking about, it doesn't apply. It's like saying, well, there's going to be a neo-Nazi Satanist terror group, so we might as well start it.
No, but when
maybe there wouldn't be one.
Founded, I'm looking at this. It was formed in 2015 as the National Socialist Order. They knew when they founded it what they were doing. The FBI, being smart, probably wanted to know what they were up to. So isn't it better to have an informant there?
Well, that's not. I think that you're both misusing the term informant. Like, you could have someone who legitimately believes all of those things, who's a part of the group that founds it, and then later on starts informing the FBI about what they're doing for various reasons. They might have dirt on the guy. They might threaten him.
That's not what Sutter does.
That's what an informant is. An informant is essentially
he's been an informant.
An informant is not an FBI agent. Just for clarification, it could be someone that is a part of the group, legitimately believes it, but turns for various reasons. Maybe he has a change of heart, or maybe they threaten him or have dirt on him. There's
that's
many
not
things.
What Sutter is.
An informant is not an FBI agent.
No. That's not what.
They're not a plant.
That's not what Sutter is. He's been an informant for over a decade.
Yeah, but that just means he's giving information to them.
But Daniel, I got to ask you this question because it's kind of like the elephant in the room now that I think about it. I've talked about like Chris Hansen in the past on this show. We made fun of his downfall from grace and stuff. But back in the day when Chris Hansen was a serious journalist before he became a YouTube clown, back in the day, he used to run a show called To Catch a Predator, and on To Catch a Predator, he would do these sting operations where he would work with a group called Perverted Justice, where they were like guys in their 20s, girls in their 20s.
That's different.
And
I'm fine with that. That's different.
You're fine with Chris Hansen basically baiting in these guys.
That's different from what I'm talking about.
Wait, so that's a fine case of what some and by the way, some courts though, but Daniel, some courts actually dismissed some of the charges on the grounds that what they were doing amounted to entrapment. I think that that's goofy, but they made that argument. Whereas here, you're arguing that these cases, which were way more clear cut, are basically kind of entrapment when no courts are going to find that to be entrapment.
Which cases?
How is it different? How is it different?
Different from the Michigan kidnapping case?
How is it different than this stuff where the FBI will operate informants, but they don't just immediately end everything? They let the operation go on so that they can gather more evidence. How is that any different than what Chris Hansen did in collecting?
I'll tell you, it's quite different. There's been thousands of these cases. The prototypical
cases of To Catch a Predator pedos.
No, thousands of these stories of how these domestic sort of terrorism style indictments are come to via the use of these informants. And the prototypical situation, as I alluded to before, is a paid government informant befriending often people who are mentally ill or nearly mentally retarded, or who are financially struggling, don't have friends, and then befriending them, offering them large amounts of money to come train with me in the woods, getting them intoxicated, and then talking about, oh, if the government did this, we'd really have to, if they were raping our kids,
what's their motivation for doing this?
It sounds
they're paid informants. They're sort of paid.
No, I mean, why would people want someone to go into the woods with retarded drunk people to rile them up.
So that the FBI can say
Me
we're
too.
heroes, so that the FBI can have the headline in Time, which is FBI foils Iowa terror plot.
Why wouldn't they? If that was the only motivation, why would they not do it with left-wing people?
Yeah.
Because the FBI is run by mostly leftists.
No, but it's
Andy
not.
McCabe.
It's Republicans. Do you think James Comey? Okay, I gotta ask you. Do you think James Comey, Republican head of the FBI for a while, do you think that he was a leftist, or do you think he was a conservative?
Oh, he voted for Romney. Yeah, I know.
So you think
Great.
Romney's a leftist?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Let's look at political donations from the DOJ. How about that? Let's just go with that metric. Okay.
Wait, so is Romney left? Is Romney
okay?
left?
Yeah. Okay. Jim Comey voted for Romney. Great. Yeah.
So
let's
left.
look at. So
No,
that's one person.
left.
Let's look at donations.
People that work at the FBI are Republican guys. They're not like lefty, basket weaving, gender study people or whatever. They're conservative.
They took a knee for BLM, didn't they?
Wait, what?
They took a knee for BLM in June, didn't they?
The FBI. Wait.
Oh yeah? You want to show the pictures?
FBI? Hold on a second. The take a knee thing is not terrorism. Now, I disagree with the BLM movement. I don't think everybody in that movement. I don't think that Colin Kaepernick is a terrorist. I think the people that burned down shit were domestic terrorists. But again, I can't believe this right now. You're basically implying that the FBI is mostly leftists. I just...
Can you show a picture on the screen? Here, I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it so you can put it on the screen if possible. I don't know. Maybe I can't do it. Just look up BLM take a knee. Yeah, let's see all these right-wingers taking a knee for BLM while they're burning down the country.
So the FBI is basically like left wing. It's basically what you're implying.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Find me the Antifa, BLM, FBI sting arrest. Just find me one story.
Oh my God. So
I could find you hundreds of right-wing militia FBI arrests.
No,
you can't find one.
Well, the question would, for Daniel, I guess the question there would be: is there one that you think should have been a sting operation that they conducted that they didn't for Antifa? That would be the thing. It might just be that there's more right-wing things that would involve FBI operations versus the left, where it's, there's a lot of the things that they do are like riots and stuff like that, which is going to involve local law enforcement. It's going to be a different sort of thing than a domestic terror plot. Well,
they think that the Proud Boys are a threat. They don't even think Antifa is a real group.
That's true. There was a terrible statement the other day from, I think it was the FBI director, someone saying it was an ideology, but they have arrested their members. I mean, when they have conducted domestic terror plots, it's been far less, like you say,
It'd
Daniel.
be news to me. But okay.
There's the Von Spratten guy, but it's just far. They conduct themselves in different ways, I think, than like you have right-wing terror cells, but like the way the Antifa conducts themselves is usually mob violence and riots. Right. Which warrants a different response. I think.
Like what happened at Minneapolis, for example, was a travesty, but it was spontaneous. An informant there wouldn't do you much good because by the time they would know what was going on, everything's being burned down. Like
Antifa doesn't plan.
There's no examples of like, if you're talking about their terrorist attacks, there's very few. Like the one I can remember, the guy was arrested by the FBI. So like if you're talking about Antifa like terror plots versus mob violence, they conduct themselves very differently. It's a different sort of thing.
Kevin, I think you should invite on Andy Ngo, the journalist, and when they threw a brick on his
that's not a terror
face,
plot.
Actually, Henry, when they plan to brick you in the head.
Yeah, but that's you understand. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to convey to you. And so maybe we can move away from this. Okay. This seems like a fruitless discussion here because
I don't trust the FBI.
I just had one last question, basically, which is kind of getting back to what I was saying earlier about the Patriot Act and everything. You mentioned the Jefferson Monument and that kind of stuff. Do you think that, like, I know a lot of people that have made similar arguments to you have regarded Edward Snowden as a hero and said that there should be monuments to him. Do you consider Edward Snowden to be an American hero?
No, I said I think it's complicated. Okay. So
how?
I answered that before. I think that it is good. I don't trust. I don't like this NSA snooping. I don't like these federal government agencies overstepping their power domestically, and I would like a check on that. So in a way, I am sympathetic, but I'm also can acknowledge arguments about China revealing sources and methods. Like I said before, I ask?
So you think, though, that he should be brought to justice then? Would you agree with that? That he's not a hero and that
I'm not sure.
Compromised American security?
I'm not sure. I would have to think about that. Can I ask Henry? Because you seem like a fair guy, and as contentious as this gets, I respect everybody for debating, and so that's good. But Henry, I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on earlier discussions about Afghanistan foreign policy?
Oh, well, I do. I mean, I'm trying to be a neutral moderator, so.
Yeah, but we're wrapping it up, so.
Okay,
you want free.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. You're saying that I should abandon trying to be neutral?
Yeah, just abandon it. I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, I think, honestly, you want to honestly hear what I have to say about that? I think everything you said was fucking insanely retarded about Afghanistan, man. I was a veteran in Afghanistan. There was no one there never did it come up about us spreading feminism, transgenderism to fucking Afghan people. That was laughably stupid. Like, it's a fucking joke. Like, that is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. If you want me to be, like, honest. So that's...
Yikes.
I mean, that's...
But when Kevin said...
It was so goddamn dumb. I disagree with some of Kevin's stuff too. I agree with you a lot, actually, Daniel, on some of the things you're saying about immigration. I can get behind that. I'm very opposed to it as well. I actually think legal immigration is a bigger issue than illegal immigration. But no, I mean, you have. Oh my God! Like yeah, I don't. I was trying to be neutral through the whole thing, but I mean, you gave me permission, so.
No, it's fine. Feel free. But I'm not saying they're trying to spread transgenderism now, but
ever? Never. That's never a thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, we're going over there. Like, have you heard about transgenderism?
No,
we don't speak the same language as them. We don't talk to their women. I never saw a woman, like, ever when I was there. This shit is so stupid. Like, we're over there fighting them, like, taking territory, building bases, pulling security. Like, what am I talking to them about? Transgendered people, man. What the hell are you talking about? That's the dumbest shit I've heard in my life. It's so fucking stupid.
Kevin was saying that we have to, if we have to fight for gay rights there because
gay rights. Like, we're over there fighting for gay rights.
When did I bring up gay rights? You brought up gay rights. I mentioned 9/11.
You said to me, what? Oh, Afghans don't matter?
No, but you're the one who brought up gay rights. I talked about what basically what you missed in all of this is that as a byproduct of actually fighting terrorism and the people that attacked America on 9/11, as a byproduct of that, the Afghan government that's in place now is a better one than the Taliban, and that as a consequence of that, women have more rights, and to some extent, I wouldn't say that there are gay rights in Afghanistan or anything, but women definitely have more rights than they did under the Taliban.
You said you want to turn it into a Western country.
Well, I want the world to be the West, though. Like, I want the world to be the West. I'm not a relative.
So Henry, what's so funny? Kevin's telling you right now he believes.
No, I was reacting to what you had said, man. Like, if Kevin's saying that
we have to bring gay rights to Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, Kevin's saying, he wishes that Afghans would be basically, it would be just like America. And yet, you know, that'd be fine with me if the whole world was like America. But what you were saying was we were over there like fighting for gay rights and transgenderism. That's just dumb. Like it's not that never.
Mitch McConnell said that we can't leave because it would hurt women's rights in Afghanistan.
I'm sure it might, but I mean that like the women's rights in Afghanistan versus like transgendered stuff in Afghanistan. Like it's
okay.
Like, you know, women's rights in Afghanistan is about them like being bought and sold as property and like being like,
having their ankles
it's a bit of a different thing than American like feminism. I mean, that's a like this
Well,
the
why-
whole fucking.
You should be laughing at Mitch McConnell. He says we can't leave. It would hurt women's rights in Afghanistan.
Well,
Is
that's
that
not
absurd?
a lie. It
No, but
probably
it's not a
would
lie,
because
though.
the Taliban. Okay, the people we're helping in Afghanistan are
I'm
not.
sure it's true.
They're
but who
not
cares?
American feminists. Like they are very like the Taliban are worse, no doubt. But I mean, if you're talking about should these women be beaten, kept in bags, like all of that, which never came up while we were there, by the way. It was mainly about basically getting the group into power that we wanted, which was not feminist. Like they were freaking Muslims. Like I mean, they were. This is.
Should we stay in Afghanistan because if we leave, it might hurt women's rights?
We have
in
like how many
Afghanistan?
troops do we have? They're like 2,000. We still have troops. By the way, you guys were talking about Germany and Japan earlier, and I, you know, held my tongue like I was supposed to. But holy crap, we still have troops in Germany and Japan. Like after the war ended, we still have them there. We have probably less troops in Afghanistan than we have in Germany and Japan. This whole crap, man. I don't get this. It got like I don't know.
We spend
this is
trillions of
ridiculous.
dollars on Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not some trivial thing, Henry.
Trivial. Oh god. I mean,
my God.
Oh,
America
so we
over
haven't.
20 years produced $400 trillion of output,
Okay.
and you're talking about a couple $1 trillion.
Okay,
and I'm not even arguing that. Like you're saying, I don't know, man. I'll leave it there.
well,
I just got one thing to say to Daniel, though. If you are like so against the Patriot Act and NSA surveillance and all this kind of stuff, you should probably like go the crypto route and use stuff like, you know, what do you call it? Like
Dogecoin,
Proton
maybe.
Mail instead of Gmail, and you know, you should probably get away from stuff like WhatsApp and go over to Signal. Basically, that's kind of the deal there. You should probably use like cryptography and stuff. Like if you were actually truly concerned and everything about it and all that kind of stuff, you know. But my guess is it's just some memes and everything. Is a lot of people, they'll talk about how, oh, Patriot Act's bad and all this kind of stuff, but you know, they'll still use like all the kinds of main social media stuff to promote their stuff. But you know, it's kind of fun.
oh, so I'm a hypocrite because I use Twitter or something. Okay. Well, Kevin, you read books. It seems like, right?
Yeah, I read books.
Okay.
got a bookshelf
Please,
behind
I
him.
would. Yeah. So I would encourage you to read The Terror Factory, and if you do, please, would you do a book review on your show?
Well, I don't read that many books.
Okay.
I'll tell you this: I used to read a lot when I was in
It's an
university.
audiobook too. So maybe.
Yeah, since I started working, like basically more than full time and doing the show
Yeah.
2 times every day, basically,
Yep.
I don't have that much time to read anymore. And the idea of reading through hundreds of pages of an intercept anti-American propagandist doesn't sound like the most fun. But if I'm ever feeling a bit masochistic, I might take a look at it. So thanks for the recommendations.
Okay. Well, in closing, I'll do sort of my final statement is I am not an isolationist, as I said before. I'm not, you know, I don't want to end all the U.S. bases. But when it comes to Bush Cheney, I just look at China, their behavior over the last 25 years and our country's behavior. And I see China going to countries in Africa and saying, basically, we want your rare earth minerals and let's make a deal on that. And they get control of it. And it's very strategic and it's just totally focused on we're going to win. And I see us running around talking about promoting values and we can't leave this war because it could hurt women's rights. And I think China is going to win. And I think this stuff of, you know, you guys laugh at it. You're laughing at Mitch McConnell talking about he literally said, we can't leave Afghanistan because it would hurt women's rights.
How
in
was he
Afghanistan.
wrong?
So
I know you're doing your closing.
Well,
but
no, I mean, no, there's another question there. Like, do you have the full quote of that? Like, please, God, let us. You spewed so much bullshit tonight.
we have to fact check.
You think I made that up?
Yeah, you make up so much. You're talking about FBI agents going and getting retarded people drunk in the woods so they can be terrorists, so they can arrest them.
No,
The shit you say, it's so stupid, man.
I'm just saying you probably
really?
You say so much stupid bullshit.
You should read about the FBI more.
Oh, you read about the FBI more, how they're getting retards drunk in the woods to perform acts of terrorism so that they can arrest them and be heroes. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I'll find out.
You don't think that's happened?
Yeah.
You don't think they've done that?
No.
I'm going to the quote.
You don't think
it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
You don't think FBI
out there going, oh, let's get a bunch of stupid people drunk and commit terror so we can look like heroes.
No, not commit terror. Say something.
Get them around the fire.
Oh, yeah, just talking, bro. They were just talking, bro. No. Dude, okay, Henry's murdering you right now, but before you bleed out, I do have the quote right now. This is from Politico, covering that. The article, of course, was Republicans livid over Trump's plan to reduce troops in Afghanistan. This isn't in the defense segment. And it says here, quote, and this is from McConnell, and I'll screen share it on the screen so that we can actually, you can trust me and everything.
And screen share the FBI agents taking a knee, too.
That'll prove that they're getting the retarded people drunk in the woods.
No, dude.
That'll make the point. I think that'll get it across there if we see that picture.
No, dude. Everybody's lolling and balling right now. This is hilarious. Okay,
you just need an FBI guy on his knee, and that'll prove everything he's saying is correct.
This is amazing. Okay, this is the actual quote. By the way, I love how different this quote is from the abridged paraphrase that you gave us. Quote, a rapid withdrawal. Again, this is from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Quote, a rapid withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan now would hurt our allies and delight the people who wish us harm, unquote. So that's the quote.
That's partial quote.
Okay.
No, what he's talking was a partial quote. This is the context, motherfucker.
But it continues. We can actually read the full article. We don't have to do that. It continues.
It's just hilarious to me. You guys are laughing at me that FBI informants have gotten people drunk to say stuff that they debated them. If you want to put money on that, I'd be glad to.
They don't just go to some random dude and be like, "Hey, bro,"
and they definitely never. And they definitely
lure him out into the woods. You want to join the KKK, bro? Buy the sawed-off shotgun from me.
Wait. So, am I lying about Randy Weaver?
Randy Weaver, who's that?
Let's be factual. Am I lying about that? They asked him to saw off a shotgun for like $7,000. Is that a lie?
Did they? Who asked him to?
Want to put money on that?
Well, who asked him to? Name a name.
Hey, undercover FBI informant in Idaho.
Name, you bitch. He's not an FBI agent. I bet $1 million.
No, undercover federal informant.
You don't know shit about anything you say. Like this is the.
So what am I lying about, Randy Weaver?
Daniel, you're so
name, dude. You can't name his name.
What am I lying about?
Name his fucking name. You can't.
His
you
name?
Don't know shit about anything you're
I have
saying.
to know the informant's exact name?
You're pulling shit out of your ass, man. You don't know any of this shit. This is crap you read on the internet.
Okay, what am I pulling out of my ass? What am I pulling out of my ass about Randy Weaver?
You said he's an FBI agent. You don't even know who the fuck he is.
I said an undercover.
No, dude, you're so
and you don't know his fucking name. How the fuck do you know he's an undercover FBI agent? You don't even know who he is.
So I'm wrong because I don't know his name.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying you have no evidence to prove the thing you're fucking saying.
When you say someone is full of shit, it sounds like you're saying they're wrong.
No, dude, I literally have the receipts, bro. You're so full of shit. I'm going to go and screen share back over to that Political piece. And I want to show you all right now. You said Mitch McConnell said that we can't leave Afghanistan because it would harm women's rights. And
why don't you play the video?
And then this is the actual quote: a rapid withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan now would hurt our allies and delight the people who wish us harm.
play the video, dude.
Okay, but like again, it's
you found a one-sentence quote that doesn't mention women's rights.
So that was what you were citing, was a one-sentence quote of Mitch McConnell saying some shit about women's rights.
Play him.
Like, oh God, we're in Afghanistan.
No, dude, show me the video, dude.
Hey, Kevin.
No, Daniel, I will play the video.
Where your mouth
Daniel,
is.
I will play the video, but you have to give me the link because again, I can't find that shit. I tried looking for, Mitch McConnell. I typed in a bunch of buzzwords around it, couldn't find anything. This is the closest thing that I could find. If you
have you play it for us,
Daniel, if you got the video, you send it to me on Twitter or post it in the video or in the chat. No, dude, I'll play the video in full context. You just have to find it because right now you're pulling shit out of your ass, man. We all want to see the video, man. All want to see the video right now.
Okay, give me a second.
Mitch McConnell, we got to stay in Afghanistan for feminism.
There's no way.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. I can't wait. I can't wait to see this shit, bro. I can't believe. Believe.
There you go. There's the link.
Told me that I didn't have to be neutral anymore.
No. Okay,
that's fine. That's fine.
You told me that, Sally. That's the only reason I
got no problem.
No. Oh my God, we got it. We got it right now. This is even better. My dudes.
Play the video.
No. I'm gonna play the video. I just have to preface it because I can't believe how amazing this is. I'm thinking I'm about to see like a C-SPAN 3-minute piece or a Reuters clip or an Associated Press clip or whatever. No. We have the video. The video, it just got sent to me. It's 7 minutes and 54 seconds long, and we'll watch full context. The video is titled Mitch McConnell, U.S. can't leave Afghanistan because it would hurt Afghan feminism. And you're thinking, oh shit, Kevin's wrong. Like that's in the title. Like if Reuters or AP has that in the title, well, obviously Mitch McConnell said it. Kevin's right here.
Just play the video.
No. But guess who uploaded the video? Daniel uploaded the video. Your YouTube channel with 110 subs uploaded.
What are you? First of all, Kevin.
This is amazing.
I asked you not to bring up any of my social media accounts. So
no.
I wish you wouldn't go back on.
Wait. I didn't mention any of your social media accounts. You sent me a link to the video.
Wait, it's really funny, but let's see my line. Let's see the line.
No. Are you denying that that's your account? No,
dude, I'm a liar.
Put two together, dude. If I didn't say it was your channel, people would figure out that the channel that your avatar.
You just exposed my lie because he never said it.
Is your actual account, though, dude? I can't believe this shit.
Somebody made a deep fake?
No, dude, this is amazing. No, it was a deep fake, bro. What?
It's so funny. You've exposed my lie, man.
No, dude, this is hilarious. Okay.
You
wow.
Play the whole thing.
Okay. I'm gonna play the video. We'll go take a look at this. I can't believe how funny this whole series of circumstances is. So we'll screen share over to YouTube. We'll watch the video, and then we will. Wow. Okay, we're gonna screen share. You can get the video.
You want to put some money on Liz Cheney becoming the leader of the Republicans in the House? How about $2,000?
I'm with Daniel on that one. I don't think that's likely.
No, I'm the joke. I'm the laughing stock here. So
well, yeah,
put some money against the I'm an idiot, so put some money up against the idiot.
We'll play the video. We will play the video. I've got it loaded up. I just got to get some water, and I'll be back in a minute. You guys feel free to talk. This is amazing. This is truly amazing. I can't believe what just happened, by the way. That, like you saying, like, no, but I said not to mention my social media. It's like, but dude, that's your channel. We were all going to put two and two together. This is hilarious. We're screen sharing over right now just so that people can see. That's your channel.
What are you, wait, Kevin, why are you being a douche right now?
Wait,
like,
you're
what is this? I'm asking you, like, just play the video. You don't have to like go into the account and stuff. And why won't you?
No,
do that?
but people would have figured this shit
Okay,
out.
how about
Uploaded the video, so
I'm
But
asking
you uploaded
you not
the video,
to. Okay,
dude.
fine.
We can all
This
see
is how,
this
I didn't
shit.
know you like
No,
treat
but people
guests
would
like
have
this.
seen this
Okay.
shit, dude. That's you. You doxed yourself, dude. Oh my god. Though everybody could see this shit. By the way, it has.
I
one
really
dislike,
thought you
and I
were
promise
like
you that's
not
for
an
me.
asshole. I'm quite amazed that
there's only 20 people watching this. Like, it's not like
Dude,
I'm asking you not to,
Daniel.
but whatever.
No,
you know?
but dude,
Okay.
people
Just
don't
play
know
the
who you
video.
are. No, but people don't know who the fuck you
play
are.
the video, Kevin.
Okay, we'll play the video.
The last several days have brought renewed speculation about the prospect of rapidly withdrawing all U.S. military forces from Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Here in Congress, a small minority in both parties seem to think it is in America's power to unilaterally remove.
Frankly, you don't need to play the whole thing, but go for it.
Let's say that again. Small minority in both parties seem to think it's in America's power to unilaterally resolve conflicts by simply walking away from them. Of course, all wars must end. The question is now how they end, and whether the terms on which they end are favorable or unfavorable to the security and interests of the United States. And nothing about the circumstances we face today suggests that if we lose resolve, the terrorists will simply leave us alone. Over the last 4 years, the Trump administration
No, he's talking about terrorists.
in creating the conditions that will secure the enduring defeat of the terrorists.
Sounds like he's talking about defeating terrorists, not so much about feminism.
Have strengthened America's hands.
We'll see.
7 minutes long.
Does
No,
he
but
mention
that's
it like
the full
briefly
thing,
in
dude.
passing? Is that like one thing he says? I'm
He says
betting it
we
is.
can't leave because it would hurt women's rights.
Yeah, he also said that we can't leave because it would strengthen terrorists.
So you guys love Mitch.
Weaken the United
You
States.
guys are the few Mitch.
I like how
fans
you
in the
ignore all of
country.
the other shit,
Wait,
but
wait.
oh my god, he said something. Well, let it finish.
Yeah, you don't like Mitch? Even a lot of Trump people like Mitch. He gets
Oh,
things done.
Mitch.
He gets wins.
Oh yeah, the
Wait, what's
corporate
wrong
shell.
with Mitch?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Mitch?
I was expecting a big speech about him saying we need to stay in Afghanistan for women's rights and
Oh,
feminism.
it's
Talking about
there. Okay.
terrorism.
Listen, guys.
dude,
Listen, guys.
Man, but I mean,
I'll
it doesn't-
bet you $100 right now. That
I'm not
he
saying
says
that he doesn't.
It would hurt
say
women's
something about
rights.
women's rights. I'm not saying he
You're
doesn't
not wrong.
mention that in passing. Like, I mean,
7-minute
In
video.
passing.
No. It's a 7-minute video. The fact that he might bring it up offhand is not the primary reason for being.
It's not the
in
only
fucking
example.
Afghanistan.
It's not the only
But
example.
that
There's
seemed
one
to be
involving
the
your
whole
girl.
time you
Liz
were
Cheney.
framing this was like, oh, we're in Afghanistan for women's rights and transgendered people, like as if that was the primary reason. Ever. It never was. Like no one. You could ask fucking anyone. No one's gonna tell you that's the reason we're there. I mean, this is. I don't know, man. That was one.
We'll go back.
Yeah. Well, let's get at least let.
You know what? Just get it off the screen. Honestly, I thought you were sort of like an honest stand-up dude, but I like told you like not to try any shit like that. But
Just sent him a
whatever.
link to the
That's
freaking
okay.
video.
No,
Told
you
you-
Yeah, I
sent me
know. And then you like
video,
do your
dude.
laughing thing.
No.
And it's really funny. Okay.
We're laughing,
Listen.
dude. You've been lying
Okay.
through your face the whole night, dude. We're
What am I
lying
lying about? What am I lying about?
I don't think. I don't.
What am I
think you're
lying about, Kevin?
I don't think you're lying. I think that you do talk out of your ass. Like you get things that you've heard, or you get little snippets of things that, and you don't really fully understand them, and then you run with it, and like that's pretty fucking clear. Like, cause I asked you about like this guy that you're saying, oh, he's an FBI agent that told this guy to saw off a shotgun. I'm like, well, who is he? You're like, I don't know.
I don't know his name. It was from
I
1992.
I know the rest of the story. It sounds like
What's Biden's middle name? What are you
Biden's
talking
name.
Biden's middle name is
What does that have to do with
Robinette. But it's
dude.
in 1992.
No. I didn't say anything about knowing Biden's middle name. You're the one that brought this shit up about the guy with the shotgun.
I am wrong about Randy.
I wasn't the one running around here like, oh, I know Biden's middle name and I know everything about Joe Biden. No, that's you. And I was asking you if you knew about the thing you were talking about, and you clearly fucking didn't.
So I don't know.
I don't know some random fact. No, it's not that I don't know a random fact. I was asking you about the thing you were talking about, man.
Okay, so the fact that I don't know. The fact that I don't know.
You don't know shit about what you're talking about is kind of important, dude.
Oh, I don't know the. I don't know the fake name being used by the guy who set up.
Yeah. How the fuck do you know that he was an FBI agent? How do you know any of this shit? Where are you getting?
Let's just make this really simple, Henry. Let's just make this really simple.
Yeah,
you're saying I'm lying that Randy Weaver.
I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying you're stupid.
Okay. So why don't we just go to Wikipedia? Why don't we go to the New York Times?
You should have gone to Wikipedia beforehand so you knew what the hell you were talking about when you brought this shit up.
Dude, you're the one
Randy Weaver was asked to saw off the end of a shotgun for thousands of dollars by a federal undercover informant. Please tell me which part of that statement is a lie. Tell me the lie.
I think that's a lie. I think you don't know.
Oh, but I'm a liar.
Undercover informant. First off, just from your framing of that, an undercover informant is a retarded fucking thing to say. Like I tried to explain to you when I was being neutral.
That's not
what an informant is, you stupid piece of shit. Like this is so an undercover informant. Like, do you hear the things you fucking say?
What are you saying? That's not a thing? You're saying that's not real?
What the fuck is an undercover informant?
Wait. You're saying there's not a thing of undercover informants?
What is that? Define it for me, please, God.
Oh, I will.
Yeah,
so
please.
You get paid by the FBI to pretend you're a radical neo-Nazi.
No.
And then what?
No, dude. They're often like true believers that get either swayed over or paid, dude.
Okay, so you're saying that.
So wait, you're saying no. Let's let him go with this. So it's a random person. It's not an FBI agent. Just some random Joe off the street. We're gonna pay you. Go in here. Be a neo-Nazi.
No, there are many FBI agents who are undercover their entire careers, pretending, infiltrating neo-Nazi circuits.
Oh, sure.
Are you laughing at that?
No, an undercover agent is a thing. An informant is a thing. You're talking about an undercover informant. Like, what the fuck is that? It sounds like you're trying to make some weird hybrid thing where, he's an informant, but is he an informant?
Yeah, but he's not an FBI agent. There is such a thing.
Right, there's undercover FBI agents that infiltrate places. So
no, but there's undercover informants who are not officially FBI
all informants would be, exactly, yes. All informants would be uncovered. They're snitches, man. They're people giving the FBI information, right?
They're paid.
Sometimes they're paid. How much was this guy paid? Was he paid? Do you even know? I mean,
which guy?
The guy you were talking about, this dude that told someone to saw off a shotgun.
Oh, Randy Weaver?
Yeah.
How much was he paid for? I don't know. Maybe he was a FBI agent. But the fact that I don't know his name.
Where are you getting this information from? Like, how did you come across this? What's your source?
I've watched many documentaries. I've read about the Ruby Ridge situation. Okay. Why do you think they were staking out his home? Since you're laughing at me.
I'm not the one talking about this. You are.
So why are you laughing at me?
Because you obviously, because to me, man, you seem to.
I'm just making this up.
It seems like you heard this. You're saying a documentary or something.
I've read about it.
You heard about it from some documentary, and now you're on here, and you're
why don't we put some money on it?
You're trying to make some broader.
Why don't we put some money on
it? With something that you heard.
Let's put some money on it.
Some money on what?
I'm lying to you. I'm just pulling.
I never said you were lying. I said you're dumb and you don't know what you're talking about. That's not the same as lying.
Yeah.
I don't think you're lying. I just think that you don't really know what you're talking about. And you're trying to make some broader point about the FBI with some specific case with Ruby Ridge. And maybe you're describing it very poorly. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
you're laughing. You were laughing at the idea that the FBI informants often.
You keep saying this thing about FBI informants as if they're like.
Wow. Okay, so basically, you're saying there's no such thing as FBI informants. What are you talking about?
Try and keep up, dude. No.
Are there FBI informants? Yes or no?
Yeah, obviously.
So what are you laughing about?
What do you think an FBI informant is? Please describe it to me.
Okay.
What is an FBI informant?
You can't do it. You can't do it.
I think you can make an attempt.
You can make an attempt.
Okay.
What's an FBI informant?
What are you talking about?
I'm asking you a simple fucking question. You've mentioned FBI informants many goddamn times. What are they? What is an FBI informant, Daniel?
It's a person working with the FBI to infiltrate groups who pretends to just be a normal member. Is that hard?
If they're already in.
Did I pass the test?
No, Daniel.
I got it wrong. What part was wrong?
That's not what a fucking informant is.
Really? What part did I get wrong?
You're talking about it like it's an undercover agent that's going to infiltrate an organization. That's not a fucking informant. You don't understand there's a difference between an informant and an undercover FBI agent. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I just.
You don't.
Guys,
okay.
Listen, I'm gonna try to. Yeah, I guess you guys just want to like chuckle at me.
No.
I'm an idiot and a liar. But anyways,
video.
I don't
want to. I don't like.
A liar.
I don't like this being rude, and I don't like this personal attacking stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna. What's so funny, Kevin?
You're the one who brought up all this exterior stuff during the debate about Afghanistan and accused me of like, oh, I just basically want to send people to die so that I can what?
I didn't call you an idiot pulling shit out.
No. But you implied that I was totally fine sending, in your words, boys and girls to die to what? To basically.
You do support the war in Afghanistan. So.
Yes, anyway. But your characterization of
people have died in that war
and all this kind of shit. Yeah, that's war. That's what happens. Soldiers get paid.
Okay. I'm gonna.
It's not conscript army anyway. You're digging yourself a bigger hole right now. We can watch the video and stop laughing and everything, and let's just watch it so that we can give you the full context, so that we can see.
Wait, the Mitch McConnell thing?
That's right. We haven't even got to the part yet that you were referring to, apparently, because all he's been talking about is terrorists. Like tonight's been a joke, but like we have to give you the benefit.
I am the joke. You're the guy who wants to send 100,000 troops to Afghanistan, but I'm the joke. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you want to let the Taliban get away with terrorism?
Just run for office in America, saying I'm going to send 100,000.
Yeah. No, dude.
Henry, you want to send 100,000 troops to Afghanistan?
I went to Afghanistan, dude. I fought.
Okay, but do you want to send 100,000 there?
No. You wouldn't have had to. You wouldn't have to if it was done right from the beginning, and Obama didn't pull it out. So
listen, can I just do a closing? You can play whatever video. I don't like this personal attacking stuff. I don't like this calling people idiots.
But you also told me to stop being. I'm a dick.
Okay.
So like when you told me to stop being neutral, I went like from 0 to 100. But I was bottling it up throughout the debate. So
Henry's done this to me before, by the way, because back when I was younger. Yeah, back when I was younger, I was less aware of how bad Antifa was, and I had done and apologetics for them. I was never a supporter, but I definitely viewed them as lesser than like the alt-right at Charlottesville. And I obviously, Henry was like, oh, dude, that's dumb and all this shit and everything. Henry Henry's that's just his style to everybody.
Sure,
You know?
sure, no, and I understand the blood sports culture, but I'll just do like a sort of closing statement.
Well, no, we wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that your statements on here that it's in the video. We just haven't gone to that.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll wait for you
to
to
see
play
if
that.
you're like totally full.
Go
That
ahead.
if
Go
Mitch
ahead.
actually said this, so
Fine,
we'll
go
go back
ahead.
to the video, and we'll start watching it. And he hasn't said, yeah, we're at 135. Let's go.
From their brutal rule. We've removed master terrorists like al-Baghdadi, Soleimani, and senior al-Qaeda and ISIS leaders from the battlefield. The Trump administration has brokered diplomatic successes that should help bring long-term stability and more economic opportunity to a troubled region. The Abraham Accords are a geostrategic game changer. The last 4 years have also brought increased skin in the game from our allies and our partners. Our friends in Europe and elsewhere have a shared interest in stopping safe havens for terror. Today in Africa, our limited American presence supports a multinational initiative led by France to combat radical Islamic terrorists. Likewise, in places where American forces continue to play roles in ongoing conflicts across the broader Middle East, Secretaries Mattis and Esper worked hard and successfully to secure renewed contributions from European partners and to transition our posture more and more toward a supporting role. Our local partners are demonstrably shouldering the lion's share of the burden in the fight. In neither Afghanistan, nor Iraq, nor Syria are American combat forces playing a primary role. We've scored major battlefield successes by supporting and working with and through local partners, such as the Afghan National Security Forces, the elite Iraqi Counterterrorism Service, and the local Kurdish and Arab fighters of the Syrian Democratic Forces. So, Mr. President, the situation we face today is totally different than what we faced 10 years ago. We do not have hundreds of thousands of soldiers engaged in combat abroad. We do not have hundreds of thousands of soldiers engaged in combat abroad. We're not an occupying force. Today, our limited American military presence in the Middle East is supporting local forces and enabling multinational efforts. We're playing a limited, but important role in defending American national security and American interests against terrorists who would like nothing more than for the most powerful force for good in the world to simply pick up our ball and go home. They would love that. That's why last year, 70 senators, a bipartisan supermajority, voted for an amendment I authored. It acknowledged the progress made in Syria and Afghanistan, identified the risks that remain, and cautioned that precipitous withdrawal would create vacuums that Iran, Russia, and the terrorists would be delighted to fill. There's no American who does not wish the war in Afghanistan against terrorists and their enablers had already been conclusively won. But that does not change the actual choice before us now. A rapid withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan now would hurt our allies and delight the people who wish us harm. Violence affecting Afghans is still rampant. The Taliban is not abiding by the conditions of the so-called peace deal.
I just got back. He say anything about women yet?
Exit.
Not yet, Henry. Still waiting.
And President Obama's withdrawal from Iraq back in 2011, which fueled the rise of ISIS and a new round of global terrorism. It would be reminiscent of the humiliating American departure from Saigon in 1975. We'd be abandoning our partners in Afghanistan, the brave Afghans who are fighting the terrorists and destroying the government's leverage in their talks with the Taliban, designed to end the fighting. Our retreat would embolden the Taliban, especially the deadly Haqqani wing, and risk plunging Afghan women and girls back into what they experienced back in the 1990s.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
And a weakened and battered
There you go.
Wait. But that's like a 10-minute speech. And he said one line about women. Therefore, we got to pull out.
We should
Like,
leave
the title
because
of this
they can
is-
hurt women's rights.
The title of this, the U.S. it would hurt Afghan feminism. Dude, as a, like, you know, a tip, if you're going to
I
do
don't
this.
know. Is women's rights feminism? Is that?
No, but there's a difference
feminist?
between not getting your ankle cut
Dude,
off.
this is not exactly what I said it was, right, guys? This is not exactly what I said it was. You mentioned something in passing, like in a long speech about all of the reasons we need to be in Afghanistan. He said something about women's rights, which are, you know, kind of
even Christian fundamentalists in America in the 1870s.
Acting like it was the primary reason. Like that was,
No, but even American Christians in the 1870s would have looked at what the Taliban is doing today and say, women there should probably have some rights. Like there's a difference, and those people wouldn't have been feminists, mind you.
If you're gonna do a video like that, like at least just clip out the sentence and then put the clickbait title on it and have that as your video. Like, why would you upload the whole video?
Henry.
Daniel.
I asked Kevin not to refer to my social media account, so I'd appreciate if we can just
but you
move off of that aspect. Is that possible?
Okay.
But
I'm not sure. I don't know the name.
Send the link to the video. It was your video. You understand that that's a little bit different than me saying this is your Twitter account out of nowhere versus you sent me the link. It's to a video on your channel. We screen share it.
Okay.
Even if I didn't mention anything about your channel, people would have figured it out. Dude, that's your profile.
Okay.
He wants to move on, I guess.
Okay. So, but just on that point, Liz Cheney did co-author a resolution with Jason Crow, which passed the Congress a few months ago, which said to Trump that he could not withdraw a bunch of troops from Afghanistan until a report was written that could guarantee that women's rights in Afghanistan would not be harmed by withdrawal. So that happened. Just to give you some context,
That's
it
a
is
little bit of a moving a goalpost from Mitch McConnell.
Okay.
But again, are they?
Anyways.
But was McConnell wrong in any of that? Do you really think that Russia and China and Iran wouldn't benefit from leaving Afghanistan, like the U.S. leaving Afghanistan? You don't think that would?
I'm not saying that everything he said was wrong.
What did he say that was wrong?
Saying...
Everything he said there was right.
Well, we disagree on Afghanistan, but let me just move to my. What?
Like you don't think?
Well, I told you I would not
have any rights in Afghanistan. You don't care about the rights there. That's basically it. Like, because what I'm telling you is that what passes for women's rights in Afghanistan is women to not be murdered because they accidentally showed like an ankle walking outside. Again, this is stuff that even in the most fundamentalist of Christian communities in America,
moved to Afghanistan, protested.
They would have.
The argument isn't over like American feminism. There, it's over like Northern Afghanistan, version of like. It's not really even. It's not feminism. It's not women's rights really, but Northern Afghanistan politics versus like the Taliban.
Yeah,
it's not like, the people that we're fighting for in the North aren't progressives. Like, I mean, they'll still hang people.
Henry, why should we
like it's young Turks?
Henry, why should we be involved in this conflict forever?
Forever?
Like, why should we keep fighting Why should we keep?
We have already withdrawn. We have no one there. I mean, what are you even talking about? We have more troops still. And have consistently in Japan and Germany. Like we still have bases there. We never left those places. You're talking about the actual war that ended in weeks, and then we moved into the occupation era, which we're still in. But I mean, barely at all. Like
we spent trillions in Afghanistan, and I disagree with you guys. I actually think trillions in Afghanistan that actually is a lot of money. I know.
Yeah, but America
is laughing at me for that.
A lot of money. How much did we spend in Germany and Japan? We spent money on foreign wars, man. I mean, their wars cost money, dude. You
Yeah.
know, it's-
Afghanistan's
money.
not going to be.
Security costs
thing
money, dude.
like-
Car alarms cost money, dude.
what's your
Security
argument
costs
that we
money.
should never have fought it in the first place? That might be an argument, or that we should have left it sooner, or like I don't know what your point is. It's been my whole thing through this discussion.
Okay.
Like, should we have left it sooner? Should we never have gone?
Yeah, the first part, like Bloody Plebs,
We
is
definitely
gonna-
shouldn't have
the
spent
first
as
part-
much money
The
there.
first
That's
part of
for
that
sure.
resolution that Daniel was referring to is talking about how it needs to ensure that the U.S. is secure. So all this other stuff that you're bringing up here is ancillary to that. It's like a side effect. It's not the main priority. Like, you understand that the reason that America went in there was because of 9/11, and the main concern with a withdrawal is over the national security implications of that. As a side note, don't you think it's worth mentioning that, women's rights might also be hindered? Because a lot of people that you want to support the war are motivated more by humanitarian concerns than national security concerns. So it's a good device. Even if say Mitch McConnell didn't care about women's rights in Afghanistan, it's still smart for him to throw that in there so that people that don't care so much about security and focus more on like human rights and stuff, they'll also be more inclined to support the war. You don't think that
We have two different visions of border security. There are people in America who think that national security is having American soldiers patrolling the borders of Pakistan and Afghanistan. There are some people who think the national security is, securing our border with Mexico.
Why not both?
So
why not both?
we
not
have
both?
in the past.
Why
We
not
have in the
both?
past.
Why not both?
Well, you're a little different from the neocons in actual Congress. I guess.
Yeah, I am. I'm a protectionist, hot gang neocon
That's
that
good.
wants to get tough on
That's
China.
good.
And like I said, I support
That's
limited
good.
and manageable immigration with a
Okay,
caveat for
good.
asylum.
And I wanna end this discussion not in a negative, nasty place, because that's not what I've not tried to personally attack you guys. So I'm just gonna close in I can hear somebody's echo. If I don't know who that is, but what I think our fundamental disagreement is, and I know you had a debate, I think the night before, about domestic versus foreign policy, right?
Yeah, that was with Warren Harding's
Yeah. And I think that you can't, even if I agreed with you about let's fight all these wars, if the country domestically is not strong, it's not going to work, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
But we have a different conception of strength, I believe. That's the issue. Because right now, America is still fairly strong. There's just these kinds of wedge issues and stuff. Like, I hate what BLM did. I hate what they did at the Capitol, for example. But these are still minor issues. America is still a resilient superpower, and they're overplayed by hacks who just want to make money, and by and large, the Russian intelligence overplays this because they don't care if the right wins or the far left wins. They don't care if the alt-right wins or the far left. They just care that America's divided and that the national security establishment is undermined. That's all they care about.
Well, now I regret we should have discussed Russiagate, but anyways.
You say Russiagate as if it's fake. Even Putin himself admitted he supported Trump in public.
All right, let's not.
He's trying to leave on a nice note, Kevin.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I don't think these are trivialities. These things you discuss. I look at China, and let me just say in the first that what Xi is doing in Xinjiang is terrible. Okay. And I would not want to live in China. But if I was to ask a fair-minded expert who is who's one of the sharpest leaders in the world, you'd have to say Xi. Okay?
I would say Xi Jinping and Putin.
Yes. Okay.
That's bad. We want strong leaders here.
The difference between America and China increasingly is China only has one value. Okay? It's a 3-letter word. It's win. They just want to win. And they're ruthless and they're smart and they come up with 5-year plans and they just say, we are going to dominate robotics. We are going to dominate AI. And we'll put billions of dollars. We'll subsidize Huawei. So Huawei is way cheaper than everyone. And look at America. We can't even come up with a budget. And in the future, we're going to have leaders like AOC who the whole discussion of American supremacy is offensive to them because they think that's wrong.
Yeah, she's never going to be
internally.
The are a meme, dude. Bernie lost every county in Florida. They have no shot.
Well, right now that's true, but when Texas turns blue, that's a whole different story. Okay, so you're right, Kevin, that technologically we probably would beat China in a war if we just deployed all the missiles, right? But actually, I'm not so sure about that because they would be more ruthless. They would be more united. And that's why immigration does matter, by the way, united. Okay? And that's one thing, well, that's one verb that you cannot apply to America today or increasingly. This is not a united country.
The term you're looking for is adjective, not verb, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry.
It's just
owned again. I'm a dumbass. Okay. They might be weaker than us in 5-10 years, but I think they'd beat us in war because they would be totally united, totally ruthless, and we would probably be busy discussing, is this statue racist? We're becoming a joke country, okay?
But you're the anti-war.
And so these are. Wait. What?
But you're making the anti-war argument, though.
I'm not making anti-war. I'm making an argument that this focus on foreign policy is short-sighted because the domestic problems.
But you're saying that China, that with them, they're strong and they want wins and all this kind of stuff. But then you're saying that America shouldn't pursue wins in Afghanistan.
No, I'm saying that you can't. The priority is the domestic problems are weakening the country to a point where even your perfect foreign policy, it won't be pursuing that. So
but even if you pull out of the places that the U.S. has presence in right now, at most you're going to get an extra $50 billion a year. What are you going to do with that? Do universal health care?
I'm not talking about that.
4 hours of that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Afghanistan right now. I'm saying the country is becoming a joke country.
No, but you're talking about a couple little culture war issues and therefore saying that the country's a lost cause. Like, you really do think that Putin's like the savior?
I'm not saying it's a lost cause. I'm saying there are deep problems, and just trivializing it as just some Fox News culture war issues, you're deeply mistaken. Because in 20 years, you're going to look at America's leadership class, and you can laugh at AOC as much as you want, but I guarantee many AOCs will be part of America's leadership class in the future.
But progressivism got shut down by Biden.
Is there going to be more AOCs in Congress in 20 years? Yes or no?
Than there are today? No. Will there still be some?
There'll be less. There'll be less or more.
Less or equal. The progressivism is a joke.
You can't answer the question. Less or more?
Less or equal to what we have now. They're always going to be a meme, dude. Once Bernie's gone and once Bernie's dead in the ground, they're not really going to have anybody left.
Once Bernie retires, the woke leftists, that's all over, huh? If you believe that, you are deeply deluded.
The American people do not subscribe to the agenda of the radical left, contrary to what the Young Turks would try to tell you.
That's not what I asked. I said, will there be more members of Congress like AOC in 20 years? And you said less.
Less or equal. They're always going to be a meme. Like, progressivism is not a serious ideology, dude.
Well,
yeah, I kind of agree with Daniel on this one, honestly. It's
okay.
You're looking at the Biden administration and the things they've been.
Do you think Cenk Uygur is going to be run for president?
Well, no. I mean, you look at Biden, and he was supposed to be the moderate, and what have we gotten out of him? It seems like he is the most progressive president in history.
Yeah, take a look at Biden. They just brought all the blimps on the border down. They're just getting rid of them. There's like a portion of the wall that was almost completed. You have like 30 yards left to like close a gap. They just stop construction there. Ridiculous.
And
Even
he brought back like all this what is it, critical race theory training in
Yes.
the US government, and like he's done a lot of like it's been pretty bad.
But again, this is nowhere near as big of a problem as literal terrorists and the enemies that have nukes aimed at America. Like,
Yeah.
but compare our elite to China's. Because when their Politburo or whatever gets in a room, I guarantee you they're not spending 5 minutes on critical race theory. The whole time it's just how are we going to dominate the telephone industry in Europe.
But you're saying that as if that's the reason why America's weak or whatever. I would argue that the reason why America has gotten in a bad position with respect to China isn't about like the race theory or whatever kind of stuff that you want to talk about. It's because America, the neoliberal establishment wanted to outsource jobs over there, and they gutted the manufacturing base in exchange for slave labor and poor quality stuff because they wanted to make a quick buck. And that the problem that America had there was largely with neoliberal economics, not really with this random culture war stuff that you want to go after.
We agree on that. We agree on the corporations, but our elite is becoming silly. They're becoming silly.
Some are, for sure. I'm an anti-elitist. I'm also an anti-populist. I think that both are stupid. But the thing is,
you need elite. Yeah.
I think that the thing with the United States, though, is you're talking about like statues over and over again, and you're talking about, oh, well, there was some like critical race theory thing here, there was feminism here, as if that's somehow going to bring down the United States. And you're saying that we should focus on that. Oh, well, closing and pulling out of the rest of the world and losing all this ground that literally millions.
I didn't say pull out all the bases.
Well,
let me give you a concrete example.
$50 billion as if it was a ton of money. Let me put this into perspective for you. The U.S. generates $20 trillion in Europe output. That's like if you bought a McDouble. That's like if I bought like a McChicken at McDonald's. It's almost nothing. You know,
but we spent trillions in Afghanistan. But regardless, let me just give you a real world example of what I'm talking about with the problem with the American ruling class or whatever. Do you remember all those politicians when the coronavirus happened and they all agreed, Democrat, Republican, we got to bring back the supply chains. We got to have the medicine made here. We got to have all this. They all talked about it. Where's what did they actually do, Kevin?
They didn't really do anything, and that's
they didn't do anything.
Trump didn't do anything either, dude.
Yeah, they're not doing anything now. Look at TikTok. Everybody was talking about banning them in August.
Yeah, I want to ban them.
I know. They paid for the top lobbyists in D.C. Nobody's even discussed it. Our government can't get anything done.
Daniel, here's the problem. Your argument that you made about how China's going to win because they want to get wins and everything and all this kind of stuff, what you don't understand is that if we got the neocons back in power, what did the neocons do? They kick ass, they drop bombs.
They let China win.
And they get wins. No.
Did they stop China? Did Bush stop China?
Bush was busy in the Middle East. I'll say this. If I was president of the United States, if I was president of the United States, I would literally do a blockade on China, sanction any countries that continue to trade with them, like Switzerland. And if they didn't like it and they wanted to skirt past the blockade, then you'd shut them down. And if they want to pursue a war at that point, you can wipe out their society in 45 minutes. They can't do the same. So this idea, they could win. They have 300 nukes that aren't even really put together. America has 8,000. They wiped them off the map, dude. Like, it wouldn't even be close.
We wouldn't use ours because we're weak.
Well, yeah, because we have weak leaders. But I'm here at this show advocating for strong leaders. I want leaders like Curtis LeMay. Curtis LeMay was the guy who in 1962 said that it was the biggest regret that they didn't nuke the Soviet Union in October.
Good. Well, this is why I wanted to end on this note, because I thought maybe it would be a somewhat of a unifying note. And I'm glad that we can agree that this is a problem. So thank you for debating. I appreciate.
I got to make my closing statements. You got your closing statements.
Yeah, go for your. But thank you for the debate, and
go for it. So basically, my view of this is, as you guys all saw in this debate, basically, is that And coupled with the debate last night, though, the debate last night was a lot more sort of, it was a lot more tame. Didn't really have the blood sports component, but the general theme in both of these debates is this emphasis on should we just focus more so on the domestic angle, or should we still provide resources to the foreign angle on this sort of stuff? And I think what's clear here is that to something that Daniel said, which was that he said that, fast forward, he thought that China was going to win. And my opponent said that he thought that China was going to win. And then later on throughout the debate, he's elaborated that the reason why he thinks that China is going to win is because their leadership is motivated by winning, whereas the leadership in the West is relatively weak. In this show, all of you that have watched this for like over a year, I talk about that all the time, how we have weak leaders. We live in the era of cringe. We went from Obama, who was weak and let Russia get away with everything in Europe and whatnot, and let North Korea build up nukes. And then we had Trump, and Trump fell in love with North Korea and defended Putin on the world stage. Now we got Biden, who's pretty weak too. We need to get strong leaders. I think the one thing that we could probably agree on, I guess, was sort of the synthesis near the end here, is that we do need leaders that are stronger and have willpower. And I've said this all the time, that the leaders, a leader with strong willpower, despite having a smaller military, can win against a country with a much larger military, such as the United States compared to Russia, who's got no will to do anything. And so Putin gets wins in Syria and Ukraine, even though America had all the power, because America was led by a guy who was feckless. And that's what often happened. And Putin called his bluff. And I often make the point that what we need is strong leaders. Bush and Cheney were about as strong as you can see in the modern era. I think Douglas MacArthur and Curtis LeMay are more preferable, personally. I mean, if we could just revive Curtis LeMay, bring him back, and make him president for 8 years, that'd be absolutely base. But I think the strong leaders right now be somebody like Dan Crenshaw. And the thing is, at the end of the day, the arguments that I think have been made tonight, the area where we agree is that we need strong leaders. That's a pro-war argument, not an anti-war argument. And this is why I find it interesting how Daniel came here tonight to argue that we're spending too much and we need to leave Afghanistan and all this kind of stuff and everything. But yet it's clear here the Chinese regime doesn't have that angle. They're dropping huge amounts of money to conquer the world right now on a diplomatic level, and pretty soon they're going to be involved militarily in a lot of places. They're expanding their bases. They've got bases opening up in Djibouti, for example, whereas Daniel has argued that America should bring things to a lower level and spend less money on wars abroad and everything. That's just going to hand over the world to the forces of darkness in Eurasia, forfeit Eurasia to fascist Russia, communist China, and render America to be an irrelevant little outpost of a grouping of continents that don't really mean much. And the heart of the world will fall to tyranny. And that will be a dark day, because mark my words, in time, that jungle will come and subsume the United States and the free world of what's left of it, because we would have abandoned our moral convictions of what freedom even means, and we would have surrendered and fallen into nihilistic relativism, and that is a dark state, and that we sign our death warrants with. So thank you for watching, and there we go. No, dude, you had your closing statement.
Okay.
And we have to end this debate, dude. You can debate me on another occasion, but we have to wrap this up.
Bye.
So I'm going to be doing a post show in a little bit. If you would like to challenge me out there, shoot me a DM over on Twitter, and we'll set up a time just as Daniel did and everything. I'll debate anybody. That's the thing. Like, I'm a neocon. I'm a debate me bro. Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. So I want to thank Henry for moderating. And for those of you who tuned in near the end of it and might have thought Henry's the most biased moderator they ever saw, Daniel explicitly said near the end of it that he wanted to see Henry's real thoughts, and Henry told him the truth. So that's what you got. And I thought this was an enlightening experience that a lot of people had some laughs at. I think we were lolling and balling. And I'm going to close the stream now. But thanks to the guys for coming on tonight. And I'll be doing a post show in a little bit. So that was kind of amazing. So have a good night, everybody. See you soon.
Oh, I just got back.
Oh, yeah. We just did closing remarks. So
okay.
I'm going to be doing a post show in a few minutes. So that was amazing. So anyway, see you guys shortly.